Hello! We are here to talk about if Nintendo is experiencing its peak right now. Is it at the tippy top and the only way it could go is crashing down?
Well, look, Nintendo's been around for 100+ years. They've had a lot of great moments. But I think now, with the Mario movie about to hit $1 billion, the Switch having this extended Prime, Tears of the Kingdom about to come, you could argue like this is the highest point the company has ever been.
Right.
But you know what happens when you get to the top?
It's like a roller coaster ride.
You gotta come down.
When you get to the top, there's always a down.
Yeah.
It's always a peaks and valleys. So we're going to talk about that and see what that means. You know, we've been within Nintendo where we've had some of these highs and also some of the lows.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what they might be going through internally at Nintendo as they think about this. They must realize that there is highs and lows coming their way as well.
Or maybe not. This can go on forever.
I don't think they're thinking that, but we should talk about it.
Yeah.
And as always, everything on this channel is made possible by our wonderful Patreon subscribers. Thank you so much for supporting us. If you want to continue to hear about our insider stories from when we worked at Nintendo or all of the inside industry knowledge that we share with you, please support us on Patreon.
We love our Patreon subscribers, and I am proud to announce again that we have never had more Patreon subscribers than we do today, right now, at this very moment.
Yeah.
So consider joining.
Yeah, consider joining our growing, wonderful community. We've been getting so many new family members in the recent month or so, and it's been great to see everybody in the Discord hanging out and supporting each other. It's been awesome.
As always, it's very easy to join at patreon.com/KitandKrysta. You can check out a free trial of our most popular tier, or you can just go ahead and join. We've got a number of different tiers starting at just $2 a month.
Yes, lots of benefits, early access, bonus Q&As. We mentioned Discord. It's the most wonderful place to be.
You are going to do on our behind-the-scenes video today
push-ups.
Push-ups?
Yes.
You think I might be doing push-ups?
No, you couldn't do it.
Well, that hasn't happened, so I don't know how you could say that so definitively.
You can't do it.
I can't do a push-up?
You can't do a push-up.
That's insulting to me.
We were... Excuse me, I got excited. We were on a stream for Advance Wars, and you nearly missed a push-up potential. You were going to have to do a push-up if you failed.
I needed a drill sergent to whip me into shape in Advance Wars.
You were going to fail on the
Call me a maggot.
First It's not Full Metal Jacket, jeez.
That's what I needed. Sometimes you need that, okay?
Hit you with a bag of soap or something?
Right.
Drop and give me 20.
Exactly.
You can't even.
That's the motivation I needed.
You can't even drop and give me 1.
To not lose on the first mission of Advance Wars.
Which you...
There's some vindication of people. We're going to talk more about Advance Wars.
had a bad moment.
Yeah.
Anyways, that stream... VOD is available to you if you want to watch Kit struggle and also...
What was the point of all this? You insulting me?
The point of this is that I can do many push-ups and you can't even do one.
Uh-huh.
Is the point.
Okay. And this relates back to Patreon somehow?
I don't know. You brought it
We're off the rails! Oh no!
Already in the first 3 minutes. Back on the rails is we have this really great goal of making it back to Japan this year. And to do that, it does take some additional funding. It takes a lot of planning on our part, but we've been asking our wonderful subscribers to contribute to our Japan Fund via Super Chat or Super Thanks. We did a few streams last week, and we just were floored.
The thermometer is moving.
Yeah.
The number is going up.
The number is going up. The thermometer...
This role-playing game that is our lives, the number is going up. It's good.
I'm leveling up, people. But it was just so wonderful. You guys are the best, seriously. Like, we're so grateful for your support. We were really floored by...
We have now received over 50 individual super chats and super thanks. So I think we owe a super thanks, get it?
To you guys.
To all of you.
Yeah,
for
being awesome and supporting us. And obviously, when we go to Japan, there's going to be a lot of really, really cool content that we are planning. We want to share with you guys all of our insider stories from when we were in Kyoto, when we worked at Nintendo, and lots more. So if you are wanting to see that Japan content, consider a super thanks or a super chat.
Yes, indeedy.
Please do.
We have some great stuff that is out now on our channel, coming up soon. So last week we hinted that we were going to the Video Game History Foundation. We have since been. And it was amazing.
It was really amazing. It was awesome. We were there because you had a collection of Gizmondos. Now, do you guys know what a Gizmondo is? I don't know. But it is a very obscure video game console from 2005.
Right.
And you made a generous donation to the Video Game Foundation, which was really cool.
I did a karmically good deed.
You did.
So now I can go back to being bad. But yeah, that was really I had wanted to go to the foundation for a really long time because they're in our area. They're just across the bay.
Yeah.
But I never had a chance to go. So this was the perfect chance for us to go check it out. Frank, who is one of the co-founders, very generously spent hours and hours with us, showing so much amazing stuff, talking about it all, talking about the purpose of the foundation.
It was so crazy, the amount of like goodies and historical treasures they have at the foundation. Like Frank was opening these drawers and just pulling out incredible stuff that was just so unique and so different and things I've never ever seen in person before. So we have a couple of videos for this. We have a really great vlog of us at the Video Game History Foundation where we talk to Frank about the work that they do. We go through some of these really unique pieces of video game history that they've collected in the foundation.
Real fast, did you have a favorite item that we saw?
There's so many like random stuff.
The knitting.
I do love the knitting, which was I guess a thing that they had during CES one year. Now you're knitting with power.
This was like an NES.
Is apparently the tagline.
Peripheral that they were thinking about and never obviously went through with, but it was knitting software that had a little gizmo where you could actually knit these patterns.
And it wasn't even like mechanized. It was just like pressing the A button. It was like
I don't really know how it works, to be honest.
And then Frank showed us potential like knitting patterns that were in Vogue magazine.
Those look legit cool.
Legit like
those.
fashion. You know, I love when video game stuff and fashion combine, obviously. So I was super into it. I'm like, where can I get? Just give me the patterns. I'll knit myself a sweater, you know? Like, it is so cool. That was definitely one of the ones that I really loved.
Yeah, and I liked how Frank explained that their purpose is more than just to be, like, to have all the games.
Yeah.
It's about kind of documenting the context around games and the eras of these games.
Yeah.
So they have a lot more than just games.
I thought that was such an interesting point because I never thought about it that way before. Like when you think about preserving video games, you think like, oh, I'm just going to collect like the old NES cartridges or the old games that, you know, are rare or something like that. But Frank made a really good point where he was like, well, if you play that game, if you gave it to someone that didn't grow up in that era and they played it, like, it wouldn't really matter that much to them.
When he said that, my mind immediately went to these Mario movie reviews by these people who obviously didn't have that context. And they were like, who cares about this?
This is just
clearly a lot of people do, but you didn't
live through this.
You weren't there for that.
Exactly. And it's so interesting how big of a difference that makes in terms of how you like engage with a certain thing or like love a certain thing or whatever. Yeah. So I think their work of preserving the context around when these important moments in video game history were happening is really, really cool. And yeah, and some of those items that he showed us were really like not like a physical game, but just like the pieces of marketing or the pieces of you know, how a company was thinking about these games, like around these games, that was so interesting and stuff that I've never seen or thought about. So,
right.
Anyways, we had a blast at the foundation, and we'll have a full vlog on that soon.
In a matter of days.
Yes.
But before that, you should watch our video that's coming out soon, looking at my Gizmondo collection that I no longer have now because I gave it to Frank.
You gave it to Frank. You had a moment of like self-doubt though. A little bit. Yeah. Even at the Video Game Foundation, I was like slapping your hand, like, stop it, like, go.
I almost made a run for the border. Like, this is mine forever and nobody can take it away.
You're like running across the Bay Bridge with like me and Frank are like chasing you down in like a sidecar and a motorcycle.
No, but I'm glad we documented it ourselves in this great video. That itself is a piece of strange video game history.
So interesting. And
learn a lot.
The drama, like as I was editing this video, because I don't know much about this at all. You worked at the agency, you know a little too much. But you were telling me all these like cool, interesting, weird, dramatic things around it. And I was like looking for stuff to edit into the video, like a crashed Ferrari.
It's a story that involves the Swedish mafia, a crashed Ferrari, and Sting the musician.
Sting the musician, and mall kiosks.
Well,
2005 people, wild times.
Everything you could possibly imagine.
Wild, and as I was like looking for the images, I had like very like weird flashbacks into 2005 and what a weird time that was, and also like it's just this bizarre history of this obscure video game thing.
Enough about Gizmondo, though. We are weeks away from Tears of the Kingdom, so we have a lot of Zelda videos coming. Out now, we have a video ranking the top 5 moments from Zelda that made you cry, not necessarily me.
I definitely read the comments before we started filming this podcast, and people are coming at me. I knew it, you guys. Oh, because
everybody's got their own list, right?
Well, because I didn't include any Majora's Mask.
But you said there was a reason. Did you edit yourself out of your own video?
I said it in there, but people don't care. People don't care. They want their Majora's Mask. I get it. That is a game that connects to some people very deeply. Yeah. But unfortunately, didn't really click with me.
Yeah.
Or you. I'm gonna bring you into this. I have a buffer.
Keep me out of this.
No. Come with me into the dark side.
I ride for Grandma and Grandma alone. Okay.
Grandma riders forever. Yeah. So I know that everyone has their own list. I know I did not include a Majora's Mask moment on my list, and that was going to cause some controversy. A lot of people also brought up the Fi moment, which I agree was a pretty intense one as well. But my thing was like, Fi was like a robot, though, guys. So I guess you can be connected to a robot. It's okay. I get it.
All right. I mean, one of these days we're all going to be married to robots.
We are
living with robots.
We are.
Yeah.
AI is just going to take over.
Haven't you been keeping up on things?
ChatGPT is my new husband.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I'm getting married to ChatGPT tomorrow.
All right.
We also last week we ranked every Ganondorf across Zelda. People seem to like that. So this week we are ranking every Zelda from the Zelda games.
There's more
not
Zeldas.
the Zelda games, the characters.
The characters Zelda.
You're right. There are a lot more.
There are a lot more Zeldas than Ganondorf.
That list just kept on going.
Oh boy!
As I was pulling all.
I know you were pulling all the images for that. Yeah, there is a lot more Zeldas than Ganondorfs, but there's a lot of really interesting iterations of Zelda as well to go through. So we're gonna tier list that.
More chances for people to be mad at you, not me, because my picks will be perfect.
But Grandma though.
And then following that, we're gonna wrap it up with a ranking of Link.
Of Links.
Later on.
All the
Yes, Links later on. Yeah.
Shirtless Link. Here we go.
That is one of the versions of Link that have existed.
S-tier.
Yes.
Yes.
We have also we've talked vaguely about doing the Zelda week. Obviously, the next after Sonic Week, we had to do a palate cleanse of a new week.
Yeah.
Zelda Week is happening the week of May 8th.
Yeah.
Which is the week that Tears of the Kingdom is coming out.
Right.
So we'll have something Zelda themed every single day that week leading up to the release of the new game, which is really fun.
We're really excited about Zelda Week. It's going to be really fun to just do a few things on our list. One of the things that I'm excited about is we do have plans to do sort of a goodbye Breath of the Wild something. Yes. We got to pay that game some respect before we all collectively...
You're going to throw it into the dumpster, right? That's what you do.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
You got to move on to the next thing. But before we do, we got to say proper goodbye to Breath of the Wild. So that's one thing in the many, many things we have coming up for Zelda Week that I'm super excited about. But Zelda Week is going to be super fun. And yeah, we're looking forward to it.
That's right. Before we move on, one last thing that we need to say, which is this is the final week that you can pre-order the Kit and Krysta custom controller. So if you've been on the fence, you've been wondering, time to make a decision, because April 30th, which is Sunday, mere days to go. That's your last chance. Ooh. Your only chance to get one. Yeah, once the pre-order is closed, like there's no like, oh, now you can order it. It's like this, you have to pre-order to get it.
To get it.
Yes.
Because it's a limited.
Right.
Edition. So, yeah. And we have been chatting away with the wonderful Captain Alex, who has designed this controller. And He's saying that everything is looking great and the final versions are going to be absolutely stunning. So to those of you who already pre-ordered, I'm so excited for you to guys to get yours. Not only do you get a cool controller, it does come in a very cool box, and it has a special pin.
That pin looks super cool.
That pin. Yeah. Where can I get a pin? I want one.
Well, have you pre-ordered your own controller?
I should pre-order one. Captain Alex.
I mean, you certainly weren't just going to get one.
Hook a girl up, why don't you? The pin is super cool, though. I'm excited about the pin. So you get a lot of stuff with that, that sort of limited edition,
premium packaging. Yes.
Yeah. So get it before it's too late and it goes away forever.
Right. We have a lot of great Zelda stuff in this episode too. We have a fun story about a not so fun experience I had with Zelda.
Yeah.
And then we're ranking our top 5 Zelda games. But first, we got to say, this episode is sponsored by Factor.
Woohoo!
Our newest sponsor. Thank you so much. This spring,
Factor.
you need nutritious, convenient meals to energize you for warmer, active days and keep you on track, reaching your goals. Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit, can help you fuel up fast with ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. You'll save time, eat well, and tackle everything on your to-do list. We have been eating this. We have been eating well.
It has been so nice to have these Factor meals. So this is ready to eat, so it comes packaged really nicely. You just heat it up in the microwave.
2 minutes in the microwave.
Yep.
Ding. Time to eat.
And then you can eat. You've been having it for lunch because a lot of times we don't have a lot of time for lunch.
Right.
You're just working all day, and it's so easy to either skip lunch or eat something really unhealthy for lunch. But with Factor, you just 2 minutes in the microwave, like you said, you get a nice, healthy meal.
Right.
And the meals are delicious. I've really liked mine so far.
Really good. Every week, there's more than 34 chef-prepared, dietitian-approved weekly options, so the variety is very high. And of course, whatever, sort of food interests you have, dietary restrictions, they've got you covered.
Yeah, they have a lot of different options. I got the veggie meal because I've been trying to eat more vegetables, and it's really easy to just get that into the old system with a Factor meal. And they have really good smoothies, which I love.
Yes, we got some of those too. Those are really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love those. So yeah, we've been eating a lot of this. So you can head to factormeals.com/KitandKrysta50 and use code KitandKrysta50 to get 50% off your first box. That's code KitandKrysta50 at factormeals.com/KitandKrysta50 to get 50% off your first box. 50% off is a lot.
That's a lot. We're gonna put the link right over here, and of course in the description below. Hope you guys check it out and get your delicious Factor meals.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Let's get into our story time here.
This is an all Kit segment here.
You had nothing to do with this?
I think I worked on this.
You were involved
a little bit. I made a train whistle for this game.
Right.
With you.
So this story is obviously about Spirit Tracks.
Yeah.
Which was the first Zelda game that I ever worked on. Came out in 2009. I joined Nintendo in 2009. And there was some interesting stuff that happened with this campaign that never really happened on any other campaigns. There were some strange things that happened. So, first I should say, I was still very much feeling my way out at Nintendo, learning how things work, even though this was a later in the year release. I was still very much relying on people, listening very closely to what everybody said and asked me to do. And, you feel that when it's your first time on a big franchise like this, of like, oh my gosh, I'm working on a Zelda game? Are you joking me?
Yeah, there's some pressure. Don't mess it up. Yeah.
Right. So the game had been announced in, I think, earlier in the year. So we all knew that this was coming. It was coming out around the end of the year. I think it came out in North America in December, actually. One of those really late releases. And we got to the point where we started planning, deciding what we should do. You made, like you said, you made this great train whistle as a little mailer for people.
I remember that was back in the day when we used to do a lot of mailers for media, for reviews and stuff, and we would always include some kind of fun tchotchke. And that one was an easy one to plan for, because we're like, oh, Spirit Tracks, obviously we should make a train whistle.
One of the other big ideas that some people were really pushing to do was, I guess back when the original Link's Awakening came out, they actually did a cross-the-nation train tour with a lot of media.
That's right.
At our PR agency, there are a lot of people who have worked on Nintendo for decades.
Yeah, exactly. Over 25 years.
So I think they just saw oh, this game is about trains. It's a handheld game about, Link on trains.
Yeah.
We have to do this again.
Right.
But
it's hard.
I'm so amazed that they were able to do this back then, because the idea of it doesn't actually sound that appealing.
No.
It's like, hey, IGN writer.
Do you want to give like 5 days of your time
or more
to sit on a train?
Come ride cross country on this stinky train
on
with
the
us.
Amtrak.
This is the only way that you can play this new game.
Yeah.
I guess if it's this or don't play it, somebody might have to do it.
I feel like it does not work well back in 2009 too, when there wasn't like a lot of like video content either, right? So it's like you can't capture this like really zany
experiential
experience.
Thing. Yeah, it's just
You're
like
just
I played
writing
the game.
an article, right?
Right.
So it's a little bit different too.
Yeah. There were so many things like that happened in media events within gaming.
Yeah.
Where they would really go a long way
above and beyond
to try and get you into the experience. Mm-hmm. Like the classic
one.
Bring
the game to life is always what it is.
The classic one was like, oh, we went to the gun range for this shooting game that we have now. Now you know what it's like to shoot guns.
I know, yeah.
Or I remember hearing about, I think Tecmo took some people like literally to like the Caribbean or somewhere like really tropical. It's like, oh, we're dead or alive beach volleyball.
Assassin's Creed used to take people to Italy.
Yes.
To do. I mean, I would like to go. So if you do that again, can you invite me?
Those days have truly passed. But that was like
that was like the standard.
The way you do a truly high end media event was, we're going to do the real life thing that will get you in the mood to do the thing
in the game. Yeah, that was like the formula for launching AAA titles.
Which I never liked, because it's like, can't the game just stand on its own? Like, you have to prop it up with these other tangential experiences?
I feel like it makes the game like, it makes you suspicious of the game. Like, is the game not good that you need to take me to Italy
right.
to like,
I always thought like
make me like this game?
Playing the game should be enough of an attraction, unless this game's really trash and you're
trying to like distract them with a shiny object.
Cover that up.
Yeah.
There were definitely some companies that were a little bit shady that were doing stuff like that. Like I remember hearing things of like Atari back then. Obviously, Atari's been through so many different iterations, but back then it was like, oh, Atari's doing this event and they're really pulling out the stops, and the games were bad, but we all had a great time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Makes you wonder what's going on.
Exactly.
Anyhow, so we considered that idea, but we didn't do it because it didn't sound like the best experience for anybody.
Yeah.
So we had a pretty, we thought it was a fine campaign. We had some stuff going on, and that got said, and we were planning to do that. But as time went on and we got closer to the launch, I heard from one of our contacts in the treehouse, and they said, hey, there's actually something in this game that we haven't shared with you through our normal kind of get to know the game information sharing that's going to be a big deal. And that you, as the PR lead for this game, we need to talk and really plan something big to blow this out. So, of course, my attention is piqued.
You haven't told me an important thing in the game 2 months before launch. What could that be?
Yeah, well, okay, let's talk about this. I said, well, I can't actually tell you in a lot of detail. I don't know why they always did this.
This is not the first time
can you not just tell me
this?
So I can do my job?
Right. Like, you want me to do my job, and yet you won't tell me the feature in the game that you want me to, do something for. So that's not helpful to anybody.
So they said there's a new way that Link and Zelda interact in this game that we have never seen before in a Zelda game. And Zelda is a truly integral part of the gameplay, the action, and it's totally revolutionary for what we've seen in a Zelda game. So like, whoa. Like, again, the way you say it that way, and like, I don't know what it is. It's like, oh my God.
I immediately thought like, oh, it's co-op mode.
Or it's like, do you just play as Zelda? Like the dream that so many people have had? Like,
do you just play as Zelda in some parts of the game?
Like Link gets kidnapped and you play as Zelda for the whole game. This is a big like reveal. So I'm like, okay.
Right.
Like, this is all I can tell you. We are in the treehouse, like really pumped about this. This is big. And we need to work together to plan something like really big to properly reveal this. I'm like, oh my God, okay. So we get going, and we decide we're going to do a really like high-end set of a press tour and show this off, and have Treehouse come and do a big reveal, and they're going to work on all these videos that we can release when the embargo lifts and make a big deal out of it. again, back then in 2009, we didn't have social media. It's kind of like the main things that you could do.
Right.
We were able to release videos, which is great, but as far as other social stuff beyond that, it just didn't exist, and we weren't doing it.
I don't think we had any channels back then, so.
No, that was more like 2011,
right.
12-ish.
So it was like, media was like 100% of the way you got the word out for something new and interesting in a game.
Right,
like
right.
This,
so, again, they were like, we need to keep this highly confidential.
Yeah.
We can't have this getting out, because this is, again, they kept reiterating, like, this is big, this is a game changer for the Zelda series.
Oh, the game changer.
So
it's going to shift the paradigm.
Act accordingly.
I also hate that.
So I was like, okay, well, maybe we need to come up with like a new way of talking about this to throw people off the scent, or like, because again, I still didn't know what this was. So I came up with this like ridiculous code name that sounded very important and like high concept, highfalutin.
It was very high concept.
And we were like sharing that with the media of like, you're going to be seeing this, so such and such thing, and they were like, oh, what's that? Oh, that sounds cool. I can't wait to see this.
Yeah.
And we got really great turnout, like really like high tier media, because I think everybody was so on the edge of their seat of like,
what could this possibly be?
Oh my God, what are we going to see? And then they came and they would do the demo, and it was, what ended up being the game, which was, Zelda can become this spirit, and she can inspirit those like phantom suits of armor.
Yeah, the armor.
And there was some stuff that you could do with her, but that was kind of it. So it was a bit of a letdown.
It was a letdown. It was not a bit of a letdown. It was a lot of a letdown.
It was a lot. I mean,
they really played it up.
They really did.
Why did they do that?
I don't know why. I mean, they may have been having some conversations with the dev team.
That was before expectation management.
And everything got just hyped up.
It was so hyped.
Because again, if they had told me, if they had done that
they
whole
should have just told
intro
you.
And told me what it was, I would have said, hey, that's actually not that big of a deal.
Yeah, and maybe you would have managed the expectations of the media coming to see it.
Right, it's like we could still do something about it. We'll obviously still do a big reveal.
A cool way to reveal.
This whole, like, get everybody hyped through the roof.
And I think coming up with the code name was also kind of a bad idea, because not your bad idea, but it didn't help, because when you have a code name for something, everyone gets hyped,
right.
Like everyone.
Like, is this hardware? Is this?
People love
right.
anything with a code name. It makes it feel important.
Right.
So that did not help.
So. Yeah, nobody disliked what they saw, but it was so far from what we had built. And
your mind just goes to like the maximum thing, which is playable Zelda or multiplayer mode.
Right. And you think of all the realm of possibilities of like, amazing things that they could do in Zelda that would actually be.
I know, this is where you can
paradigm
speculate.
Busting.
Yeah.
I mean, even I went through that process.
Yeah,
but in the end, it was just like, she can. You solve a puzzle by putting her into this suit of armor.
I know, and she's like this little like ghost Zelda, and you're like, oh, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like this did happen like multiple times throughout our time at Nintendo, where this is, I think, the effect of, sort of Nintendo as a company being very insular at times and sort of sitting in their own vacuum. And when they like develop games and they come up with features, they're very like they're looking inside and not out. So they think it's cool, and they tell the Treehouse team that it's cool, and it just becomes like sort of like an echo chamber of like, what you think is cool is actually not that big of a deal.
Yeah, that's where it's good to know like what is actually like top level confidential, because you can get a reality check on stuff like this.
You need a reality check sometimes. Yeah, we went through a lot of that too, where it's like, can you just tell us what the information is?
Right.
Like I work for Smash, that was like number one. It's like, I can't deal with the drama that you're like building up around all these like zany things that's happening in this game. Like I can't decipher what you're trying to tell me. And there's no way for anyone else besides the person that's in the echo chamber to judge whether or not it's going to be good or bad. And then you're caught like sort of like on your heels a little bit, because you can't prepare for the reaction, which is a little bit challenging.
The other time I got stung by that was with Super Mario 3D Land.
That was the other one that I was thinking about, where there was a whole other mode.
Well, let me tell the story. Jeez.
I was like appalled by this.
Yeah, so I was the lead on that game as well, and So yeah, as we all know, like after you beat the first like 8 or whatever worlds, there's like another like whole.
It's like you're only 50% done.
The game basically doubles in size.
Yeah.
But there's like a fake out ending and stuff.
Yeah.
And at the time, like I had only seen like what we were seeing in, promotional materials and the demos. Like I think, wow, this game looks great. And I remember when we sent out the review embargo, there was just a line that was like,
do not talk about
what happens after the like ending.
Yeah.
And I read in reviews, I found out for the first time as I read the reviews that there was this whole other like double the scope, double the size of the game thing. Yeah. And I was pissed.
I was really annoyed.
Yeah.
And then I actually beat that game. Beat the first, the true, whatever, the first part of the game. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. Yeah. And it was like, why did we focus so much on the stupid coins when you could have focused on how...
Well, that was a different game.
Oh, wait.
This is this is Super Mario 3D Land, not New Super Mario Brothers 2.
No, there was... Oh,
Coins.
Coins. Okay, I'm getting them confused.
Rattling around in your brain right now.
Yeah.
Coin cobwebs.
All right.
But yeah, and then I went back to the Treehouse person. I was like, why didn't you tell me that? And they're like, oh, it's a big secret, bro. It's like, can I not be trusted? Like, am I just a liar?
You're going to leak it. You're a leaker.
Am I just out here, like, telling anybody anything? Like, what's the deal?
Yeah, that was always really hard. Like, this dance between like what is truly confidential and what is just dumb that shouldn't have been kept from marketing people because we needed the information to do our jobs. Yeah. That was like truly a thing at Nintendo that was just like extremely frustrating, and we would deal with it all the time. And and sometimes we would find out like after the game launches like something is in there. You're like, what?
I can understand in that case why they wanted to keep that as a secret, for like very late in the process. But you still could have told me. Yeah. Again, like, what is the harm in telling me?
Right. I mean, you didn't have to announce it.
Right.
It would have just been good for the PR lead to know.
Right. This fundamental thing about this game.
Right.
I don't find out until I read it in a review.
Or beat it yourself.
Yeah.
Which is unbelievable. Anyways, but that was your first brush with... that kind of...
Jerked around.
That kind of thing that would happen all the time at Nintendo with Spirit Tracks. We made a cool train whistle. That's all I gotta say.
That's the enduring memory. Do you still have one of those?
I think it might be somewhere.
Okay. You should find it and blow it.
We blew that whistle all the time at the office. Remember, that was fun. Got a lot of train whistles. Got some good stuff. Good stuff.
We have Zelda Storytimes through the release of Tears of the Kingdom. We do. Say.
We have
we actually have a two-parter story time.
I know, and we also have. Anyways, maybe I won't.
Don't spoil it.
I won't spoil it.
Don't.
Never mind. Okay.
Let's get into our Never a Minute segment, which is also Zelda themed.
Oh yeah.
This started as one thing and became something else.
Yeah, we were gonna do top three, bottom three.
Top three, bottom three Zelda games.
But then we were like, no, we've talked about the bottom three too much, so we're just gonna do top 5 Zelda games.
We're doing top 5.
Yeah.
And so we did do, on Nintendo Minute, our top 3 Zelda games. This was before Breath of the Wild came out. Mm-hmm. So I thought, well, let's extend it a little bit more, because things might have changed. But there's also that, like, beyond the 3 that is kind of interesting.
Beyond the 3 gets a little, like, I had to think hard about this.
Yeah, because there's still, there's so many Zelda games. Like, anything that's in the top 5 or even sniffing the top 5 is still really good.
Yeah.
But the ordering that people have it in it is pretty interesting.
It's so funny, too, because as I was going through my personal list, I was like, oh, things have really shifted around after, like, Breath of the Wild and after, like, I replayed some of the games that are a bit older. Like, it's like, how many remakes does this game in the top 5 have? Because... that kind of helped it like stay in the top because your recent memory of it or the remastered version of it is like so good. So, yeah. Okay, so do you want to start with number 5 for you?
Why don't you start with your number 5?
Ocarina of Time.
Ah, okay.
And that's one where it's like, yes, this because I've played, pretty recent remakes of it. Like I think the 3D version, Ocarina of Time 3D.
Very good. Very good version.
Really solidified my love for that game. And this was definitely like one of the Zelda games that really started my, like, fandom for Zelda. Like, the earlier Zelda...
What was the first Zelda game you played?
I didn't play the first Zelda game.
But was that the one that you played first?
Oh, no.
The very first Zelda game?
My first Zelda game was Ocarina of Time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh. So you went through the whole Super Nintendo, all this stuff.
I didn't play...
You never played a Zelda game?
I never played a Zelda game.
Wow. That's so interesting.
Yeah. I don't know why. I think when I was little, I had an NES.
Yeah.
I had an SNES.
And Zelda was big.
Zelda was big, but
Then,
I don't know why I
right.
didn't gravitate towards it. I think the top-down nature of that game really intimidated me.
Okay.
And I was pretty used to like platforming with Mario.
Yeah.
So I think most of the games that I played on my NES and SNES were like Mario-esque, like
Platformers. Yeah.
or like other IP that I like
Mermaid,
Disney games, or Street Fighter or Mario Kart or stuff like it's something with Mario in it for sure. So anyways, I actually didn't properly play. I must have watched someone play Zelda. I must have. Like I definitely had friends that were into Zelda. I knew of the characters and all that stuff. But I never owned, like a Zelda game. So until Ocarina of Time. And so that was my first experience. And then I went back and played the other ones.
Yeah.
They were really hard. And I mean that truly like started my like complete, fandom for Zelda. Now it's my favorite franchise ever, and so I had to put Ocarina of Time in there somewhere, Yeah.
I put Ocarina of Time very much in the middle of my list, where at the time it was like truly, truly revolutionary.
Yeah.
And yet another instance of Nintendo taking a 2D game and totally nailing the 3D introduction.
Yeah, exactly.
But I feel like if I go back to it now, it just feels quite vanilla in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Like very limited in the scope, just really straightforward. And it still does, it's very good at what it's doing. But there's like so much more in these experiences now that it's hard for me to put it above some of those more elaborate games.
I think if I didn't have the that nostalgia and that like core memory behind Ocarina of Time, I would totally be just like you. Because when you go back to it now, it's like it's pretty basic, but it just feels special to me because of that. And I'm really glad that I got to play it again on 3DS, because I think that really, it just made me fall in love with those memories. Like, oh yeah, I remember like what it felt like when I first played this game, and like it's cool when a remaster can make you do that,
Right,
so
right.
I really like that about it.
Ocarina of Time, my other memory of that was one of the few games in my school that got the non-gamers to play something, and that was like the big talking point in the school for like a couple weeks.
That's why I played it. Because there's so many people. That's like my favorite story about like that schoolyard effect that we have now with social media. But back in the day, it's like the only way you would learn about a game is if you heard someone talking about it or you read about it in Nintendo Power, or like someone was passing around a Nintendo Power or a strategy guide or something like that. That was exactly what was happening at my school. And I was like my interest was like so piqued from that. Yeah.
Well, my number 5, I really struggled between two games. The first was Link's Awakening to go here. That was such mystifying that they could get that to run on a Game Boy, first of all, the original version. It just felt like, we just made a Super Nintendo game and we just managed to squeeze it into a Game Boy. So that version is great. The Switch version is really good. That was my first time finishing the game, was with the Switch version. I never finished it. Originally, I had it, but I didn't finish it on the Game Boy. And I really liked that game, and that, again, it felt very ahead of its time and introduced a lot of new ideas. But I ended up going with, for my number 5, A Link Between Worlds, which is the 3DS game.
I have such fond memories. Well, we have a lot of A Link Between Worlds stories coming up for you guys, but that was number 6 for me. I really struggled.
Really?
I really wanted to put it in the top 5 myself, actually. Okay.
Yeah, I have. So it's a small spoiler for my list. I have A Link to the Past pretty high on my list. So this being kind of a follow up to that, meant a lot to me. I don't think it's as good as that game though, but it did also. This game is really noteworthy for me in
doing the dungeons in any order.
Yeah, this was when Mr. Aonuma was talking about like, hey, we're starting to rethink how we do Zelda games, and some of the things that were a little formulaic. We're going to start to stray away from those. So I see this as kind of like the first step towards...
It's like a stepping stone towards Breath of the Wild.
Exactly.
Yeah, I totally agree. We spent a lot of time with Mr. Aonuma on this game, so I feel like I like really learned a lot about his mindset when he was developing this game, and how it was very future looking for not just making this game in a vacuum, but making this game as part of like the bigger Zelda franchise and universe.
Right.
And that whole mechanic where you like fade into the wall as a picture, brilliant. Like when you first did that, you were just like, this feels so good. And he's like a little chalkling.
Yeah.
It's so good.
That was so fun.
So good.
That's probably one of those mechanics that like they have no reason to revisit that, but it was just so well done and so unique to that game.
Put it in Tears of the Kingdom.
It's not too late.
Not too late.
Delay it again.
Oh my god.
Number 4 for you.
Number 4 for me is Skyward Sword.
That's also my number 4.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah, this one was another game that we both worked on when we were at Nintendo. So, of course, it holds some very special memories from that. But
I should say, this game is now, like, a lot of people flipped on this game. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, this game sucks.
People did not like the art style. They did not like any of it.
There are people we know, like, who were in the media, who reviewed the game, who gave it a 10, who will now say, like, oh, I totally whiffed. Like, that's a 6. This game.
Yeah.
Like, well, that's a mistake on your part if you think it's a 6 now.
Yeah.
No, I still hold this game.
I think this game is very high on my list for 3 main things. One is the character development. Like you've never seen character development like you do until we saw Link and Zelda in Skyward Sword. Like that was something that was a huge deal when we were marketing the game at Nintendo, when we were working with all the writers. Like that was the thing that was like, they really talked it up. Like you will be so sucked into their relationship. And at first I was like, you liar. You're not gonna really go there, are you? And then they totally went there. It's so good. There were some really great moments.
Yeah.
We made a thing called a romance trailer.
That's true, we did.
It was literally called that.
Yeah.
And it was because we wanted to show people the relationship between Link and Zelda. And that's why we cried so much in Skyward Sword. You know? And the other thing I really liked about it's all story-based for me for this game. I just love how story was such a big focus. The other thing is I love the confirmation that this is the first game in the timeline.
Yeah.
I'm like, I need an anchor.
Yeah.
Thank you for giving me the
great.
anchor.
Right.
You know, we now we have something to like set our, like kind of frame your mind around. So I really, really appreciated that was like a confirmed thing as well. And I don't know, I really liked the art style, like the sort of the watercolor kind of painterly. I think, again, it speaks to later on in Breath of the Wild where they wanted to do that gouache effect with the art style, like that kind of thinking about how to represent the game with different art styles and looking at these like sort of old ways of painting. Like that's cool, you know? I thought that was interesting. I mean, people didn't like it, but I liked it.
Well, it's not like completely hated by everybody.
No, I know, but I know people like it was divisive.
Well, I mean, the controls are one of the big reasons people didn't like it.
The controls were.
I like the controls.
The controls are okay.
I really liked that because
waggle? You waggled? Did you waggle?
No, waggle was what was in Twilight Princess.
No,
that was waggle.
No, wasn't that?
How is this more waggle than that?
This is way more waggle. That sword stuff.
Do you think you know what waggling means?
I do know what
waggling just means indiscriminate, like.
Yeah. I don't feel like that.
This was using the Motion Plus. You had to be very precise.
But it didn't work that well.
You had many boss fights where you had to throw the controller. Now I understand why. Because you didn't know what you were doing. Because
it wasn't accurate.
Because you were waggling when the game wanted more than that.
The game didn't let me be precise. It was making
Can't waggle your way out of this boss fight.
Waggle, and I couldn't waggle fast enough. I do remember I did a demo once in front of Reggie.
I was going to say, so you did a demo.
I'm going to tell the story later. The story is like too good.
But what was the event that this was? This was some like investors event?
It was a crazy event. That was like...
It was like the Lehman Brothers...
It was literally like an analyst investor. Anyway,
he was in like a suit or something.
I'm gonna tell the story later. I can't tell the story right now. It was like the weirdest experience of my entire life. But Reggie and I had a really good moment on that day that I want to tell you guys about.
Well, I'm personally insulted that you called that waggle because it's way more than that. Also, all the other kind of stuff that they took.
The new version, you can just use regular controls.
The other stuff that they took from Wii Sports Resort, like rolling the bombs, shooting the arrows, were great with motion. I can't believe maybe you need to drop this in your list if
the controls are not.
If all you like is like googly eyes between the Link and Zelda gets you at number 4 on the list. This list is bunk.
Hey,
mine is the list to look at.
No, it isn't.
Yeah.
The other thing I said three things, but I have one fourth thing, is the goddess theme is just the theme, the regular Zelda theme backwards.
That's great.
I was like, what? Koji Kondo?
And now they do that a lot.
You freaking genius, man. He's like, that's just that song backwards, right? I'm like, holy, and my mind was so blown and I was like listening to it like very carefully. I was listening to it recently as I was putting that music into our Zelda moments.
Getting all those satanic messages. Listen to this backwards music.
Even at Niage. Oh man! Oh, such a good game. Such a good game.
I saw. This had some complex dungeons, but not to not like Twilight Princess, where I thought those dungeons were too complex for me. I was too dumb for those. These I could mostly get through. I still really think a lot about that desert dungeon where you had those bubbles of time, where it's like if I'm in the bubble, either I'm going the past or the
future.
That was truly like a mind blowing dungeon.
Who
in a
came up
Zelda
with
game.
You know what I mean? Like someone's coming up with, someone's whiteboarding this.
That game had its flaws, like all of the sky world and the ground world, where there was no
connectivity.
There was nary a connection.
It
was just a loading screen was what connected them.
Was that stupid music note? What?
Oh, the tad tones.
The tad tones.
Yeah, those were awful. Those were so bad.
Death to tad tones.
Tad tones. Oh man.
Just kill those off forever. God,
that was
the worst part of the game. I think I rage quit a lot almost in that game. I had there was some personal problems that I had. Like the demise battle.
Spoiler.
Really caused some problems in my personal life that I will never forget.
Number 3. What do you got?
Wind Waker. Number 3 is Wind Waker.
Oh, that's your number 3?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay.
You know exactly what's happening now.
Now I understand, yes.
Wind Waker is fantastic. Wind Waker, we both hold in very, very high regard. Wind Waker was higher on the list, but no, Breath of the Wild came along. And
when we made our original list, it got bumped down. Everything got bumped down.
I know. But Wind Waker, another one of those games where it's like you really sort of get a new spin on Zelda, which I really liked. I'm with you. I love the exploration of that game. You see an island in the distance, you're like, can I go there? What's over there? The characters are so charming. I love, Zelda as Tetra. And the music is so good in that game. And of course, we have Grandma, your favorite.
Yes. I have this higher on my list. Yeah, but I will say, that was what sucked me into this game was the exploration, and I really would just go through the ocean of there's this little island over there. Let's go. We're gonna check it out. Dredging stuff out.
I love
of the
dredging.
ocean.
Yeah.
That was great. So that was really what I was most excited by.
Yeah.
Because that's what Zelda's supposed to be about, is the excitement of an adventure and the unknown.
Yeah.
And I had felt like the series started to get a little bit away from that in some ways. So I was really glad to see it come back. And again, when I think of Tears of the Kingdom and all the stuff in the sky, I want to do that in the sky.
Yeah. I really want those two things to be married a bit closer, like the exploration and the story. Because I feel like what we've been getting is either you're over compensating one or the other a little bit. I mean, the Wind Waker story is actually quite good, so that's why it's high on my list. But yeah, it's you can have both. You can have open world exploration and have a great emotional story where you learn more about these characters that you've known for so long. Obviously, the Wind Waker story is it feels different because Link is such a different Link, in the story. So it felt a little bit removed from more core Zelda stories.
Now, were you one of these people that was raging on the internet when this game was revealed? This isn't realistic. This is kiddie.
No, not at all. Because I really liked the art style for this one. I did not think it was kiddie. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
So I was not, but I know, again, divisive.
Space World. Got people raging.
People raged at Space World.
Yeah.
This is the new Nintendo Live. They're going to reveal Wind Waker.
I agree. I thought this art style was great then.
Toon Link
Still
is great.
Amazing
Toon
now.
Link.
I need this game on Switch. ASAP, please.
Please, for the love of God, please. For the love of the sages. Please, you have it. I know you have it. Just give it to us. I think the music in this game is one of the all-time greatest Zelda soundtrack. I hear the music in my head all the time.
Yeah.
When I'm sailing, I hear the music.
Now you do real life sailing.
I know, and I do it because I think about Wind Waker a lot. When I have a dream that when I finally get to own my own sailboat, I'm going to name it Wind Waker. So don't steal that name, because I'm going to register it.
Is there only like one? It's like a license plate? Can there only be one?
You have to register it with like the Coast Guard and stuff.
You can spell it in elite speak. Nobody else can have that.
No.
W1.
I want it in the Wind Waker font too.
K3R.
Like on the boat.
In what?
Like
in that font?
In that font.
Okay.
And then I was thinking like maybe for the sail I could have like the cool like Wind Waker logo.
Just build this boat yourself. You got a lot of ideas.
I gotta do that, but I need to save up money.
Build it. Don't buy it. Build it. Do it with your own hands.
My own two hands, just sawing it away.
I can't help you.
at the dock there. Okay,
at the
great.
dry dock.
At the dry dock.
What the heck is a dry dock?
Getting that hull put together.
What is a dry dock? Just tell me really fast.
Oh, it's basically like a parking lot where the boats are not sitting in the water.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is that where you put it in the water?
You usually build the boat on land, obviously, at the dry dock, and then there's a thing called like this is like splash day where you like lower it into the water.
Check it out. Make sure it's
sound.
Ship shape.
Exactly.
All right.
Watertight.
My number 3 is A Link to the Past.
Okay.
I played this in the moment when it came out.
Oh.
And so I did also play Zelda 1 and 2 in the moment. I didn't play Zelda 1 in the moment. I played Zelda 2 and 1 about the same time. Mm-hmm. When I got my NES, I got both of those games then.
Okay.
And I admired those games, the NES games, but they were really hard and a little bit obtuse of the game expecting you to like, oh, burn this bush, or just this is the gravestone to push over. Like there was a lot of random trial
you would never know,
stuff.
unless you had a guide or something.
So I admired those games. I wouldn't say I really loved those games, but this one I really did love because it just felt like, and this was like so many of those classic franchises when they came to Super NES. It's like, we have this great idea, and now we're going to blow it up in ways that you never imagined and make it feel so grand and so big and so special. And that's what this game was.
Yeah.
That first scene is amazing with, Link in the rain, getting the telepathic messages from Zelda. Like that is such, like, you think like early like cinematic moments in games, like that is it.
It reminds me of Star Wars somehow.
Star Wars.
Moment.
Okay.
I don't know why.
But like that is like such an incredible moment, and then just the size of the world and all the little gadgets and gizmos that you can get and the ways that you can explore, and then having the whole like other world that you could go into was such a like, whoa, this game's a lot bigger.
Huge,
than you thought. So yeah, I think as far as the top-down Zeldas, I think this is still the best one, and maybe that has to do with the fact that I played it back in 90 whatever when it came out.
Yeah,
but that's how I rank it.
All right.
Yeah.
So my number 2 is probably no surprise to you, is Twilight Princess, which I know you disagree with. That's okay.
If you did our list like in inverse, that might be where I have Twilight Princess.
Ouch.
But we're not here to talk about that.
Ouch.
That's why this became top 5 and not bottom 3.
Twilight Princess. Twilight Princess is such a good game. I mean, I understand where you're coming from. Like, you have said things like the puzzles are really, really, dungeons are hard and world feels empty and all that stuff. Like, none of that stuff bothered me. Like, I just really, really like the tone and the mood of that game. It's, again, I like these Zelda games when they feel super different from each other. Like, how different can you get from Wind Waker to Twilight Princess?
Edgy, dark Zelda that you've finally been waiting for.
I do want all of the spectrums of Zeldas. Give me the Toon Link and the colorful boat and the thing and the ocean and the lovely, music. But also give me like the dark, sort of somber, melancholy quality too.
You got Wolf Link right there on the table.
My favorite thing ever, ever, ever in this world is Wolf Link and Midna. I just think that the whole idea of Wolf Link is just like so freaking cool, and I never expected that in a Zelda game. That was awesome. And I think again I'm a story person, so the relationship between Link and Midna and like that whole story arc where there was another girl that isn't Zelda that Link has to like help and befriend and build a connection with. It's like really interesting. But most of all, I think it's, you know, the moodiness of the game that I really loved. I really love that whole like Shadow Realm, you know, that I loved Zant as the enemy. I like the dungeons. That was like one of those things where you really struggled, you know, through the dungeons because they were very challenging. But when you did it, you were like, I'm so sad. I feel so satisfying.
I thought you were going to say I'm so smart.
And I'm smart, obviously. But yeah, it's like that's the people that like the dungeons and that are calling for dungeons to come back. Like I get it because I felt that way too. Like you struggle through it and you feel like I'm never gonna solve this, and then you do, and then you just the sense of satisfaction and just like accomplishment is like that of Elden Ring when you beat a big boss. You know, it's like I'm never gonna beat this boss, and then you finally do it, and it feels so good. So yeah, for those reasons, number 2. Hard to unseat this one, but I don't know. Tears of the Kingdom might push this down.
I'm here to conjure positive things to say about this game. I like the Yetis and the pumpkin soup.
Oh,
I like that.
Don't you think I look like that Yeti girl?
Huh?
Somebody said that I had that girl's face.
What? Okay.
Look it up.
I would love to eat some pumpkin soup, though. I think this maybe the turmoil around Wind Waker caused Nintendo to like understand the way that fans feel about this game. That backlash, maybe like
Overcorrected?
because you feel like that
Yeah,
that first trailer for Twilight Princess, where everybody was like crying in the aisles of that E3 press conference, like it kind of feels like they tapped into that more so in the past of like,
yeah.
oh, we're really gonna like make you feel it now.
Yeah, they're like, yo, you asked for it.
And now that's just like a part of like what they do.
Yeah,
Right.
the heartstrings. This is my Zelda. The Twilight Princess reveal is like the first of those emotional trailers that people look for now. Like the 2017 Breath of the Wild trailer is like basically the Twilight Princess reveal, but for Breath of the Wild. And then we had the recent final trailer 3 or whatever for Tears of the Kingdom, which is like an evolution of that. So you could say that getting that kind of emotional response really like made an impact at Nintendo, and they were like just using that now moving forward, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Did you like the HD version of this?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. I don't think I beat it, but I
Yeah.
definitely like played part of it.
Okay.
Yeah, the orchestral score for this game is also
If you had to pick one
of the
to get
best.
the Switch version of this or Wind Waker, which one would you
probably,
prioritize?
Probably Wind Waker. I feel like it's been a while.
And yet you rank that number 3.
I want to play Wind Waker like really bad.
It's not too late to change it.
No.
Oh. All right. My number 2, as we talked about, is Wind Waker. Also, we've pretty much said everything to say about that. So I guess we're on to number 1, which I think
is the same. Breath of the Wild,
little-
obviously.
It's anticlimactic. but
underwhelming.
It's Breath of the Wild. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely Breath of the Wild, and you guys know why, obviously. Yeah, what will happen with Tears of the Kingdom? How would it change up this
we
list?
talked about that. Where, was that on a bonus Q&A or something? I think we projected where we think Tears of the Kingdom will fall.
Yeah, I definitely think it's going to be in the top 5.
But where in the top 5?
So I don't know. Like I'm not sure.
We'll make a guess,
if it's
please.
going to unseat Breath of the Wild. So I was going to say 2 or 3.
Okay.
But now I feel weird because I feel conflicted because that latest trailer was so good, and I feel like, what if I like it more than Breath of the Wild?
Oh.
So it's a possibility. But you?
I think I had said it's somewhere in the 3 to 4 range.
3 to 4. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
That's fair.
Right.
That's totally
knowing
fair.
what we know.
Yeah. No.
And
And you still feel like that now?
I don't think it will top Breath of the Wild. It could certainly top Wind Waker.
I was going to say it could top.
It certainly has a chance.
It could top Twilight Princess.
Right.
For me, at least.
Now, again, I've mentioned this before. I was not really the biggest. I was more of a Mario guy.
You are.
Like
you and I always
people
talk
identify.
about this.
are you a Mario guy or are you a Zelda guy?
you always identified
I
as
was
a
definitely
Mario
more of
guy.
a Mario guy.
Yeah.
But now this is my favorite game ever, Breath of the Wild. So
Yeah.
I am kind of.
Are you a Zelda guy? Not really. You're still a Mario guy, I think.
There's different eras of these franchises.
Yeah. But I think in your heart, you are a Mario guy.
We also talked about that of like some people are a little. They have trepidation about this new era. They're like, this is not the Zelda that I grew up with.
Exactly. We talked a lot about this, and I think people are still.
And for me, that's what I like about it. It's not the Zelda that I grew up with.
I know, and I'm sort of in the middle where I want them to like find that balance between the Zelda that I grew up with and loved, and the new Zelda that I also love. But I want to have some of that old Zelda back for sure. Like I want story, I want dungeons, or some semblance. It doesn't have to be dungeons, but something akin to a dungeon. Like I do want some of those, Zelda aspects back as well. But I'm hopeful that Tears of the Kingdom is going to be fantastic, and then we'll have to see where it sits on our top 5 list.
And hopefully they still have, and I'm sure they still will have some top-down games coming out after Tears of the Kingdom.
That's
because
a good point.
I think that's how they look at the series of, we've got these two styles and genres that we want to serve, and there's fan bases for both. So I do think they'll still do that.
Do you think Toon Link will ever come back in any sort of real way?
Well, we got a lot of Toon Link.
Because we have...
there's the 2DS games.
The 2DS games. And then we have, what is it called? A Link...
Huh? I mean, Toon Link was just kind of Link for a long time.
What game was that game?
That's Link's Awakening.
Link's Awakening, thank you.
I mean, they kind of made him look toony for that. Obviously,
but like true Wind Waker Toon Link, do you think that will come back?
Yeah, I'd love that.
I think that would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's our top 5.
Where's Wolf Link? Bring him back.
I don't think that's happening.
Ever?
Again, sealed away forever.
Tears of the
That's why you cried. Sealed away forever.
Sealed away forever.
What is your top 5? Please leave a comment and tell us.
Yes, please do.
All right, one of the games we are playing now. We've got a nice little variety here.
Yeah.
Well, you might think it's like 2001 based on...
I know. That's so weird, right? What's happening?
3 of the 4 games. We have
Traveling
Final
back in
Fantasy
time.
Pixel, Advance Wars, and Resident Evil 4.
Welcome to the early 2000s.
And then we have this one. Do you know what this other game is?
Dredge.
Dredge? Do you know what that is?
I don't know.
Okay.
Is that a Steam game?
Why don't we start with that? That'll be a quick one.
Okay.
This is a game that I saw on my Steam Deck when I was... I wish-listed this game, and I was like, I'm going to wait for a sale.
Okay.
But then I saw there's a demo of this game. I didn't realize it's out on the Switch. And there's a demo that's out on the Switch.
Nice.
So now it just becomes a question of which platform does it go on sale first?
Aha.
And I'll buy it. But this is a really interesting game. It's a combination of boat fishing, like you're going out and fishing in a boat.
Okay.
There's also like
treasures?
a horror aspect to it.
Oh, I don't like that.
Yeah, I would say it's like
Like there's something in the water?
Boating meets Animal Crossing meets horror is kind of my description of it.
That's weird.
So there is kind of a story reason that in the demo you don't understand, but there's some you sort of wake up. You sort of wake up in this fishing town, and the people seem kind of shady, and they're like, oh, you get the sense that there's something
sinister
afoot,
sinister.
something something supernatural, or just something just
like the
ominous.
Oxenfree vibe.
A little bit, yeah.
Like
maybe
that,
aliens are involved. I don't know.
Oh, aliens.
I don't know, but you get a fishing boat, you're a fisherman, you just kind of wash up in this town, and they're like, well, you got to pay up your debt. And there's a very like Tom Nook-ish scene where it's like, I am selling you this fishing boat, but you have to pay me back.
Oh no,
and
by going out and fishing.
You go out into the bay, and further out, there's like a pretty big looking ocean, and you find these little bubble packets of water,
and that's where
you can
drop.
You can fish and get different types of fish.
Okay.
The fishing is pretty straightforward. There's like...
And that's not scary.
No. There's just sort of like a circular thing that goes around, and there's these little green spots where you have to push the button to pull it higher and higher.
A little bit like a rhythm kind of thing?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
So that's very straightforward. But right now in the demo, I'm confined to the bay where this town is in. But you can see out there, like there is the ocean. So you will eventually upgrade your boat to get a better engine, to get better fishing equipment. Yeah. So eventually you will get out there, and I wonder what kind of fish are out there.
That's how I feel when you like sit right by where the Golden Gate Bridge is, and you know that once you leave we call it the gate. You leave the gate, you're in the ocean.
Yeah.
And it always feels like very liberating. Like there's something out there, and I want to get there.
Right.
So I get it. Yeah.
Right.
I love that.
So I was having a good time just with the fishing, and they kind of say, well, come back before it gets dark. And I don't actually know what happens because there's a real-time clock. Oh. Well, it's going faster than real time, I should say, but it's keeping track of the time. And there's like sunset is happening.
Oh no.
And
something sinister happens at the nighttime?
I don't know. I should do that and find out, like if you just hang out at night, like what happens. I've been a good little fisherman and coming back when it starts to get dark. And then you sell off your stuff.
To pay off your debt.
And you can upgrade your boat. So there is kind of just a fun loop in that in itself.
Okay. Which
I'm liking, but I am very intrigued about what the spooky stuff is.
Oh, the shady town.
I don't know.
I think it is.
I haven't finished
Alien? You think it's aliens?
I don't have a clue. I don't know. But
Do you think they're burying like dead bodies in the ocean and you're going to pull up a dead body?
Maybe, but there's just this ominous sense of like dread throughout the game, which otherwise you wouldn't feel because it's like, yeah, I'm just going fishing and being the life of a fisherman. So it's a really interesting kind of genre mashup.
I like
It's pretty fun.
This
This game got really good reviews. There's some pretty good buzz around this game.
Okay.
So yeah, if you're looking for indie games, this could be
I'll play the demo.
a fun one. Yeah.
I finished my storyteller game finally.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, that was good. That was a good one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy Pixel. We played this on a stream last week.
That was so fun.
Yeah.
So we checked out 6 and 4, but you have continued on with your favorite, which is 4.
Well, I bought all 6 of them.
Right. But on the stream we looked at 6 and 4.
Right, but I should say like you can pick and choose which of these you want to buy.
That's right.
So there's a button that's like buy all 6 and that's $75, or you can buy them individually and they range from like $12 to $18 depending on if they're newer or older.
Options.
So yes, I have playing through 4, which is my favorite Final Fantasy game and one of my favorite games ever, and really just taking in any and all of the differences. And I really like this version a lot. It's a very light touch of what they've done. So it is in HD graphics, but it's still very true to the original.
Yeah, that's what I like about it. I thought they did a good job balancing it, making it feel modern with the new graphics, but doesn't take away from what you remember the old games to look like.
Right.
And the music too, they have like the toggle between.
Yeah, so you can, the graphics are always the same graphics, and they're in widescreen, and they look very true.
They look nice.
But like this is a lot cleaner than it was 30 something years ago.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot cleaner. But yeah, there's a new soundtrack and you can toggle between that and the original. There's some other gameplay stuff that you can fiddle with, like giving yourself more experience or gold or turning off random encounters.
Yeah.
So if you
want to make it easier for you,
if you want to make it easier or harder,
yeah,
depending on what you want to do. So that's really nice that is there. And that's kind of the treatment that they've given to all 6 of these games. And I have seen some people saying in some of the games they've taken other liberties and sort of changed certain things up. I've seen that mostly in 6. There's been some discussion in our Discord about that.
Yeah.
But with 4, I mean, it's very true to the original experience. They did release that game a lot of different times on a lot of different platforms. And along the way, they did change some stuff up. So my memory goes back to all the way to the very original on the Super Nintendo. So it was like even little things like stand out to me, but I don't remember exactly when they made that change. But on the whole, it's a really great way to play these games. And I do have the experience stuff turned up a little bit, just because there are moments of grindiness where it's like, I don't need to do this.
You don't need to do this.
I've done this.
Play this game like so many times. Yeah.
I'm actually right now in a part of that game that is probably my least favorite part of the game, where Cecil, I call him Cecil.
Cecil.
He became a paladin. That happened. Had that big moment. We go back to Baron. The poor twin mages turn themselves into stone. So it's kind of like a real emotional downer moment.
Yeah.
And you get the airship, and you have to go and get one of these crystals. But there's kind of like a gimmicky dungeon where you can't wear metal.
Oh.
You can't have metal equipment on at all.
Yeah, that's right.
And I remember there being kind of a little bit of a difficulty spike there, and where you really have to grind. So I'm just going to ride that experience boost.
Yeah.
And just get through it.
That's right. Now you have the option to do that, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
Modern times, people.
Right. And I played, I don't know how many times I played through that game. It's a lot, but it's so wonderful to go back to it, and this new way just feels really good. And I'm remembering how compact that game is. It's got all the RPG stuff in it, but there's just not a lot of filler. I would get to a point in the story and I thought, oh, I remembered this happening hours into the story, but I would check my playtime. It's hour and a half.
Oh yeah. Even in the little bit that we played, it was kind of a lot happened.
Right.
In the first 20 minutes.
The game just moves. Okay. But again, you still do get that sense of openness and exploration and a lot of possibilities. but you're always getting new people coming in and out of your party. That's something that is a little bit different than some of the other Final Fantasies where you could make that choice yourself. This game is telling you, like, when you get to this part of the story, this person leaves and this person comes in.
Yeah.
But that helps to keep it really fresh. It is sad when you have a favorite character who turns himself to stone or dies or
that's like the
leaves.
Zelda and the Crystal kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like it does tug at the heartstrings. Have you, very important question, rekindled your love affair with Rydia?
Well, no, I have not found adult Rydia yet. That happens later on. So
so you have not rekindled.
Gonna happen though.
You have not rekindled.
Gonna happen.
Are you excited to see her?
I'm very excited. Yeah.
Good for you. I'm just happy.
This game also has, I should say, all of these games have a really nice, like, little concept art library in the front.
Oh, that's right. They have like that.
And
thing.
I went through all of it for 4, and it's like a lot of stuff that I hadn't seen before. Actually,
I really like how people are like publishers are putting more of that stuff into these remastered versions or into these collections now because it's like, put it somewhere.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, even for myself, like a big super fan of that game, to find something new about it that was a pretty big thrill.
Yeah.
So I've really enjoyed doing that. And then there's 5 other games, which I won't be playing through all of those one by one, but 5 is the one that I have never played.
A bit of a blind spot on 5.
That everybody says is so good that I do really want to get to. So I'll see, maybe after I finish this, I can have a bit of time with it before Zelda comes out.
Tears of the Kingdom,
And then 1, I also want to give a little bit more time to because that game was so punishing.
Now you can just turn the experience
on the NES,
all the way up.
Now I have a way to finally get through it without
that game was
the pain. Hard. But that's where it all started, and there's some cool stuff there. I'd like to play it alongside with my Nintendo Power strategy guide. They did a whole issue based on that game, so I have the whole game figured out there.
That's cool. Now you can you have all the tools to be successful finally with a game like that.
I know some people have some like small nitpicks with this, but I really like this package.
Yeah. Yay!
On to another retro re-release. Advance Wars.
Oh boy, it's finally out, people.
Which is another game that we played on our stream.
That was fun.
I initially was really down on this being a $60 game because it's like, well, it's 2 Game Boy Advance games and
it's kind of a lot,
20-something years old. We could have just put this out on NSO and called it a day. But I've come around on it. Like there is a lot of content there, and the presentation is really nice.
It is really nice. They did update like a lot of the animations are all brand new. The artwork and the graphics look really nice. I still think maybe like $40 would be more appropriate.
Yeah.
$20 per game.
Yeah,
for
I mean, 60 might be pushing it, but I feel better about paying the $60.
Yeah.
Than I did when I got it. And yeah, it's the 2 games, and those are all completely redone. I don't know those games well enough to say if they changed the gameplay at all. So it could literally just be the fresh coat of paint of the presentation.
I think it might be.
But it's a really nice coat of paint that they put on it.
Sure.
And it kind of feels like you kind of get the sense of, they had a long wait with this game, and they were just kind of polishing things up.
I mean, might as well keep tinkering with it if you got the time.
Right.
It was almost nearly 2 years.
It was like a year and change that they were just sitting on this
game. Yeah.
But like the presentation is super slick. The graphics are really colorful, really nice. It's a game I just like to look at it. I don't skip. You have an option of turning off all the animations, the fighting animations.
It looks good.
Like, no, this is part of my experience. I want to look at these things. I want to see the little toy soldiers guys fly off.
Yeah.
I like seeing how they've depicted, like, oh, you're in the mountains, or like, oh, you're on the river and you can see off. Like, I really...
The background looks so nice.
This is what I'm saying. Like,
we were like in a fight or in one of the little like scenes where you were standing on a bridge, I think, and the background looked really good. I
mean, the development scope of this was not like make a new game. It's like they're very focused on the things that they're focused on, and they did a great job. They did a great job with this.
Yeah, totally.
The music is also new. I really wish it had the Final Fantasy toggle, though.
They should have made it so that you could toggle.
Because I like... So in Final Fantasy, I should say, I have gone back to just the originals.
The original music is like, you can't beat it.
Right. And I have such like close connections with that. Both these games have like high tier music.
Yeah.
And The Advance Wars new versions are good, but I would just like, just for 5 minutes, I'm going to listen to this and I'm going to switch to the other one.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, you want the option to just hear it
Yeah.
and then see if you can switch. Like, see which one you want to switch to, you know? Yeah.
Andy's theme. If you have not played Advance Wars and you just want to get a little hop in your step for the day,
it's a bop, guys.
YouTube Andy's theme and listen to that for 5 minutes.
You're like cooking dinner and whistling Andy's theme.
I have not been able to get that song out of my head for 20 years. I need to see a doctor.
You've been whistling Andy's theme for like literally.
Please help me, doctor.
Yeah, just like me with Wind Waker, the Wind Waker theme.
I'm gonna drill into my skull.
You got chew gum.
1800
that
style.
That is the way to get a song unstuck in your head is chew gum. That's what I heard.
Really?
That's what I heard.
That's so made up.
You should try it.
But in addition to the 2 stories, there is this sort of skirmish mode, which...
Oh, yeah, that's right.
As the story mode gets harder, I think I'm going to gravitate to this more.
Right.
Because this is basically... You can basically customize your own battle.
Right.
And you can choose which of the commanding officers you want, and you can pick... There's a lot of maps to pick from, and you can buy more maps in the in-game shop. Not like DLC style, but just like the in-game currency.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of... You can kind of have your own fun there because, the story mode does get pretty hard pretty fast. Mm-hmm. Like, I got made fun of because I almost lost the first mission.
The difficulty setting is really confusing, though. I don't blame you for that.
Yeah. So
it was like casual, which you had a very bad reaction to.
It's basically easy or hard, and I guess there is a harder mode that you can also unlock.
But the normal is really hard.
The normal's hard.
And the casual is like normal.
Casual is fine. I've had no problem with casual.
Right.
I better not have a problem with casual.
But you just didn't like the connotation of casual is the thing. We were like talking with people in our chat, like what could have been a better name? Relax mode.
I was also like, I might make a new save file later. Like, how hard could the first mission be on normal? And then I almost lost.
It was dire.
Yeah.
You enlisted a lot of help from the chat to help you get through
maybe don't be afraid of casual if you're picking this game up.
Connotations, though.
But I beat this game on the Game Boy Advance somehow.
Did ya?
And now I'm seeing all these people like, oh my gosh, the final missions
hard.
of this game are like impossible. This is where my strategy of the war of attrition works. Don't try and get all fancy with I'm doing the pincer maneuver. It's like, no, I'm just going to keep generating these troops and slowly...
powering through, yeah. Just
into the meat grinder you go.
Oh my lord. This is like, again, when you watch someone play a strategy game or when you see someone like play a game like this, you understand
the strategy is having no strategy
their personality and their like outlook on life. This is you can learn a lot about somebody. Like when I watch you play Fire Emblem or like any of these kinds of strategy, I'm like, oh man, you and I are very different people.
Anecdotally, this game does not seem to be a hit, sadly.
It doesn't.
And I wonder...
I mean, it's just, there's so many things against it.
What does it mean for the series? Hopefully, if they think about doing another week, they realize the situation that they put themselves in with this game and are not just like, oh, people hate Advance Wars. It's like, no, you sat on this game for a year and then decided you could do nothing to promote it. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's a tough place for this to be.
Well, once you make that announcement of your delay is based on a real life war, like there is no way to get out of that. You've made the commitment.
A war that continues on.
Yeah, you made the commitment to like be in that situation. You know. The other thing is that online mode is a little eh.
Yeah, I was a
little bummed about that.
So you can only play with friends, which is basically the same system they have on the NSO retro games.
Right.
And again, if you're playing, apparently this game nobody's bought.
You looked at your friend list and you're like, none of my friends are playing this game.
But other people on our Discord have done that too. Like I have nobody on my friend list who's playing this game, so I can't play online. That's a miss.
That's a miss. That's a basic for 2023.
They big brain themselves into that decision of
absolutely.
well, this game's hard, this game's complicated, you don't want to play this game with a noob or somebody you don't know, but it's...
Just have matchmaking.
Well, fine, now nobody's playing anything.
Yeah, any kind of matchmaking will do. Like, they're really bad at matchmaking, so that could be why.
This game's... I really like this game, though. I've been doing a little bit of this and Final Fantasy every night, and it's been really nice, really fun. So I'm glad to have Advance Wars back, because I missed it.
Yeah, it's good to have it back.
You have been doing basically nothing.
No, I've been playing Resident Evil.
Yeah.
I've been trying to... I'm going to beat this game. I'm on chapter 11 now. How many are there?
16.
16. Okay.
But you're getting to that point where the missions start to get really long.
They get long. Okay. So I'm gonna power through. But I did a lot last night. I really like that section that I played last night quite a bit, which is
the Ashley section?
It's the section where you're in the castle or the manor or whatever it's called, trying to get to the ballroom. And you do have to play as Ashley a bit. And you said that you didn't really love playing as Ashley.
No,
I
I
didn't.
didn't.
I did not mind playing as Ashley. She has the whole like lantern thing where she can like basically like stun an enemy. I think it's like Luigi's Mansion. It's like Luigi's flashlight.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Right? Where you don't suck it into a vacuum. Ashley should get a vacuum. But it's exactly the same mechanic, really, as that. And she kind of has a Luigi personality where she's like terrified, which I do not.
All you can do is like run away.
All you can do, and it's a one-hit kill.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did pretty good, though. I was really scared that I was going to
you got through that section.
Get lost. Yeah, I got through it. No problem. Solved those puzzles. I actually liked the puzzles in that area too. Like it felt like, it was fun to like explore that like mansion thing, like looking for those heads to put on the statue, and then so I'm through that. Leon has been rescued. Now I'm back to be playing as Leon. Now I'm in that scary like lab.
Yeah.
That area is not my favorite so far. It's scarier than the other parts of the game, I think. Like that whole...
That's where you get that new enemy, those goop monsters.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those.
Might
not like that.
They're not great. There's also that really scary enemy where you have to like freeze it.
That's the one.
Oh.
The goop monster.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And you get the thermal scope so you can see the weak points.
Yes.
And then you shoot those.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. It hasn't been going well for me. I just run away like a crazy person. But so I feel like I've made some really good progress in the last couple of days finally, because I had finally like gotten back to this game. But yeah, it's still going pretty good. I'm still not like super scared or anything like that. There are some moments.
Well, at this point, you just might not be.
You're
almost done with the game.
There was like one moment where I was like in the gutter and like something jumped out at me, and I was a little
in the gutter.
I definitely jumped. I was like, oh!
How are you in a gutter?
You like fall into that hole because Ashley has to drink the black liquid.
Oh.
Before the lab, and you're in like the sewery area, and there's those bug things like jump out from under the water.
Yeah, I don't like
and
that.
it's like dark, and when you have just the flashlight,
That's some jump scares there.
There's a little bit jump scary, and I was like grossed out. I was like also grossed out because I went back to like, oh, this is probably really smelly down here. Like it's gonna be stinky because all those dead bodies are on the spikes and
it's
stuff.
not good.
It's gonna be gross. He's like trudging through the water. Like imagine his clothes and his shoes.
Ugh.
That's gross.
Squishy.
That's so gross. And then when your socks get wet in your shoes, like the worst feeling ever. Like you just literally want to cut your feet off. You're like, this is horrible. But anyways, yes. I think I can still beat it.
You got to finish this game.
I can finish it before Resident Evil, before Tears of the Kingdom.
Well, that's in like 2 weeks.
Okay. I can definitely do it.
You should try and finish this game this week.
Oh.
Yeah.
You're really giving me
That's
some
your
deadlines.
assignment.
Deadlines here. Some deadlines. All right.
So that's what we're playing.
Yeah.
We are feeling some anxiety about all of the big releases that are coming out. So we decided to spread the anxiety around by asking our Patreon subscribers how they're feeling, and with a poll. The poll says, between now and the end of June, there's a lot of high-profile games coming out. Everyone has a different way of dealing with having a lot of games. We all want to play at once. What is your go-to approach? 49% of people said, I don't need to play every hot new game right away. I'll get to them when I'm ready. Mm-hmm. It's a very mature, level-headed approach that I cannot subscribe to.
Oh.
31% of the people said death taxes and my backlog getting bigger, such as life.
So just acceptance.
That's kind of mine.
Yeah.
12% of people said I'm comfortable juggling multiple games at once. I would love to do this, but I cannot.
I can, depending on the game.
8% of people said I have a detailed schedule to play the games I'm interested in as efficiently as possible.
Who are these
These
people?
are the true heroes.
Share the schedule. I want to know your schedule.
This is how you can get organized.
You gotta get organized.
You love organization.
Where's your Google Doc for this? Let me collaborate with you.
Every minute of your life to play these games.
I live my life in a Google Doc, by the way. Like a Google Doc is the only way I can live my life at this point. Anyways.
Got some good comments on this. Murph said, the allure of most AAA games from franchises I enjoy is honestly enough to make me grab them on release, but I rarely play them as I buy them. I'm starting to change my strategy a bit and only buy PS5 games when I'm ready. That way I can take advantage of any sale that might happen later. Nintendo games, as we know, rarely go on sale, so for games I know I want physically, I'll buy them right away just because I like seeing them on the shelf. This is a good idea.
See, buying them physically is smart because then you see them as a constant reminder of games you have not played. That's good.
But I do still see some people waiting for these Nintendo sales. And they do happen, but they're like years later, and
also
it's
for
never
games that it's probably not like the game that you want. Like, it's not one of these like AAA games.
and it's never that much of a discount either.
That's true. Yeah.
So it's like, what is worth more? Like you just playing this game, or you waiting 3 years to get $20 off?
Unless you don't want to play it right away.
Sure.
Then you can just buy it whenever you feel like buying it.
Right. Paul Gale says, depending on the type of game, I can definitely enjoy a few at a time. Zelda here and Street Fighter there, no problem. If it's two big releases in a similar genre, I may hold off on one.
I'm like Paul Gale.
That's a good point as well.
I think. I can play
a side game?
I can play a side indie game and a big...
Your bedtime games?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you play them for different reasons, too.
I think we also identified Street Fighter as a game that, you can squeeze in a few rounds of this.
Oh, that's no problem. Especially, just a couple... 30 minutes of Street Fighter and then back to Tears of the Kingdom is not a problem. But I feel like you can't play a game like Diablo or Final Fantasy 16.
Well, therein lies our problem, because all those games are coming out in a week.
That's the nerve-wracking part for me, is that these huge games of similar genres are coming out all at the same time.
Kai Wright says, I definitely have a plan in place for playing games. I play games on stream, on my breaks during the workday, and in the evenings while my wife is getting dinner. I will play one game on stream, one in the evenings, and sometimes even a third, usually something not new that doesn't have gaps between checkpoints on my work breaks. So far, it's worked out great.
Wow.
That's what I'm talking about.
I'm amazed by this. This is crazy to me.
I like this. But my issue would be that I would feel like I'm making no progress in any of these. Mm-hmm. And I would get frustrated.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess, it depends on the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then finally, Zroid says, bye now, think later.
Zroid. All right. That's a good way to look at it. A robot would say that. Zroid.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before we get into the news, we got to say, this episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Learning about yourself is a lifelong process. Mm-hmm. I have shared a lot about things I have learned about myself, and now it's your turn.
Yeah.
What you got?
I have learned that I'm more scared of change than I had thought that I was.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
And I've learned this over this last, couple of years or so, when we did have some very significant big changes in our lives, and we've had things that were very, very stable, like a paycheck, really ripped out from under us, So I always was very confident in myself when I had all of these various safety nets that I'm very good at dealing with change. I'm good at this. No problem. I've got this. And then when real change happened, I was like, oh no.
Oh no.
I'm terrified and this is not good. So this is where a BetterHelp therapist can really come in and help you, because they are a neutral party. You can just spill your guts and tell them all the things that you're scared of. And you don't have to burden, somebody that's in the situation with you. I wouldn't want to tell you all this stuff and then you're terrified too. That wouldn't be good.
Well, there's somebody who's well-versed in also helping you to understand and help you find a solution or a path forward. So that's what's great. Yes, with BetterHelp, you take a brief questionnaire and you get matched with a licensed therapist who is ready and able to talk about what is on your mind. You can do it through text, you can do it through audio, you can do it through video, and you can change it up on the fly, however you'd like to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And I use all the different ways, which I really like the flexibility of, just depending on how you feel in that day and how big of a kind of, discussion you want to have with that person.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it's great.
Discover your potential with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/KitandKrysta today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/KitandKrysta.
I will put the link right here and, of course, in the description below. Thank you, BetterHelp.
Yeah. All right. Okay. We are on to the news.
Yes.
And we have taken a brief respite from talking about the Mario movie. Mm-hmm. But by the time this episode is out, the movie may have crossed the $1 billion mark.
Which is what you have predicted that.
I did.
Way back when. Way
the I Was Right World Tour can commence.
Yeah, or continue. You've been right about a lot of stuff this year, so good on you. But Yeah, I think we wanted to talk about this, and we were mentioning this right at the top of the episode. In the context of Nintendo sort of at the tippy
Right.
peak.
Well,
But let's get into some of these numbers
Let's
here.
go through all of the milestones that we have so far. So as of the time of recording, the movie has made a little under $900 million domestically. This movie has been out for less than a month, we should say.
Yeah, yeah.
And it has not yet released in Japan.
Yes. That is kind of unbelievable. And I have also heard that, comparing this movie to other movies, the week over week box office drop off is very low.
Right.
So they're doing really well keeping that momentum really high.
Right. So it has passed Jurassic World to get Universal's biggest third weekend in history, seventh biggest third weekend, surpassed Spider-Man.
Dang.
Biggest for an animated title, highest grossing animated film in Universal history.
Wow.
And the third highest of any Universal movie after Jurassic World and E.T.
Dang.
Remember that?
A classic.
That was kind of before my time.
A classic.
E.T. But that is some really incredible milestones for this. And like we said, it's going to get a big bump once it comes out in Japan. So
yes,
rewriting the record books, there have only been 51 movies ever to have made $1 billion. So this is getting into some really rarefied air. And I think a lot of those movies probably needed months or they kind of limped over the finish line to get to $1 billion. This is just shooting past.
And it doesn't look like there's any sort of indication of it slowing down. And in its home market, you could argue, Japan, it hasn't even launched yet. So that is going to be a spectacular explosion, I think, of more money and more momentum. It's going to be pretty incredible once it launches there.
Right. I mean, Japan is not the same size market as the U.S., but
it's still significant.
It ain't nothing.
It's still significant.
And those people are going to want to go see this movie. So
right.
Yeah, it's just incredible how this
really cool.
movie continues to go, and it got us thinking. So I think the question is are we in peak Nintendo right now? And not just sort of in the short term, but in terms of the company's entire history. Has the company ever been firing on all these cylinders now?
Yeah.
So you think all the things that are going on. So you have Mario passing or right about to pass $1 billion, and who knows where on that list of 51 it's going to end up. It's going to be high. Switch is currently the third best-selling system ever and experiencing this kind of extended prime where it's still selling really well. Yeah. Software is still selling really well. There's still a lot of people playing
interest.
it. Again, this is also not limping to the finish line yet. And then, we're weeks away from the release of Tears of the Kingdom, which is going to be an absolutely massive launch. Will it pass Breath of the Wild in sales? I don't know. But it's going to sell,
I mean, the user base for Switch is so much larger.
Easy confirmed tens of millions of units sold.
And it's probably going to be, Game of the Year potential. We know it's going to review really, it's going to have a great review score, all that stuff. So.
I haven't even mentioned, the theme park is now out in multiple regions and people are loving that. We still hear from people, it's oh my gosh, it was absolutely packed, shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah.
And
just every single day of
that's a huge success. We don't yet know the financial impact of the theme park or directly, I'm sure at some point they'll do a financial update where it's hey, we made this much money from this movie and from this theme park, and that was money that we weren't making before.
Right.
But it just feels literally everything that this company does now is just turning to gold.
Yeah. But how long can this kind of unprecedented, massive success last? And the bigger question I think that we talked about a little bit before is how can this be sustainable for Nintendo? Are they set up as a business to really take advantage of all of this momentum? Are they going to be able to translate this into consistent growth and opportunity? Is there resourcing? That part of it, from my experience working at Nintendo, I feel is very shaky. The resourcing part, the business foundational part, are you set up to continue this success? That's a huge question mark for me.
Yeah. Well, let's go through these three things that we had here and see, what kind of comes next there. So people have already started talking about what the next Nintendo movie could be. There's these interviews with Mr. Miyamoto where he's like, yeah, there's going to be more coming.
Right.
I'll just come out and say, I don't know if there's anything else that's going to make $1 billion. That even a sequel to this movie is not guaranteed to make $1 billion.
Right. Sequels are hard.
Right.
You see this throughout the history of film. When you have a sequel succeed the original, it's like a pretty, big deal.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's more to that universe that they can build around for the Mario movie, but it's going to not have that same impact, I think.
Yeah, there's all this,
the original.
decades of built-up anticipation for a Nintendo movie. The whole approach that they've had of pulling from all of the history of the series and really jam-packing it.
Easter eggs.
We've talked about how that leads to rewatchability, which obviously boosts up the numbers. Yeah, they'll probably make a sequel to this, but I don't think it's guaranteed to make $1 billion. It'll probably do great.
Yeah.
But doing something that matches this, I don't think so. And then you start to think about, Zelda or whatever franchise they could do.
They don't have the reach, mainstream appeal of Mario. A lot of people are calling for things like the Metroid movie, which you and I would love that, but because we're super engaged Nintendo fans. But think about the critic that gave the Mario movie a terrible score.
Right.
Are they going to feel differently about the Metroid movie, a character that they know less about?
Right.
That's going to be hard to find another franchise that have the same impact as Mario.
Right, and all of those franchises have these sort of creative questions that will play a big role of, are those successful or not? How do you handle Link not speaking? And with that, it's very, there's the big debate of, should it be live action? Should it be animated? How do you do it? So there's just a lot of questions about that. You kind of hear this dilemma in music where people say oh, my first album was this big hit, but those were songs that I've been writing
forever
for 10 years. I had 10 years to work on this album before I even got big. And then it was the expectation of I need to get another album out in a year. And I have nothing. I need to come up with a whole new album.
Obviously, Nintendo has a very deep well of IP.
Right. So they're not starting from zero, but
right. But they do. It does it's kind of a similar discussion when we were talking about Tears of the Kingdom. It's that first thing, you have so many things on your side to make an impactful first thing, and then you have in the reverse so many things against you to make an impactful second thing.
Right.
It's exponentially harder to do the second thing.
Right. So I think Nintendo will continue to have a really positive and lucrative relationship with whatever movie that they keep going. But I think our point here is just don't just assume that this is they're all just going to make $1 billion.
Yeah, not every Nintendo Entertainment TV show, movie, whatever is going to make $1 billion.
Because again, 51 movies ever. There've been a lot of movies released.
Yeah, so, yeah, that's so true.
This really should not be an understated achievement.
And this could be lightning in a bottle effect too.
Yeah.
You don't know. You don't know until you try to replicate, and if you can't replicate, then you'll know why. And the other thing that we talked about with movies and entertainment is that they're not super set up for this. They honestly are not scoped from a business perspective to drive the momentum forward, because there is no department at Nintendo that is the movie department.
There's the 5 people who are in the credits who we know.
Exactly. No, you guys can see from the credits who those people are. Count it. It's not that many.
Yeah.
On the NOA side, that strategic initiative team that does some work on on this entertainment stuff, they do the movie, the theme park, all of the licensing stuff, all of the toys, and that team is very small to do all of that. Oh my goodness.
Hopefully that is a top priority.
They need to hire some people
to get this team in
right
place
now
before this gets out of control and we lose control.
They need a huge department to run this kind of stuff.
Right.
And they don't. They do not have that.
Yeah.
So
next, Switch is the 3rd best-selling system ever. Obviously, Nintendo's had varying degrees of success or not success
with hardware. Yeah.
We've talked about so many times the challenge of following a success in hardware with another success for whatever reason. Very hard to do through the history of gaming.
And especially with Nintendo.
One could say they have a pretty logical path to maintaining the success of Switch, with the next hardware being a continuation of the Switch.
Just don't mess it up, guys.
Right.
Yeah, it should, you could say that if they are going to, quote, play it safe, they will have some sort of 4K Switch, more powerful Switch, whatever. Same form factor, same everything. Don't mess with a good thing.
The proverbial Switch 2.
Proverbial
yes,
Switch.
It is a whole new generation, but it is, it feels similar.
It feels similar. It's just more powerful.
Right. We're not goofing
Don't
around.
Don't reinvent the wheel here.
Right.
But Nintendo has been known to be a little zany. And this is why we were talking about, like, let's not be in a rush to, like, bury the Switch, because you're enjoying this, like, great, time of where there's going to be really quality software on a hardware that works well, that is supported, that you like, but we're always 10 steps from a Wii U situation, because it was a very innovative company. They love to try and experiment, God bless their hearts, new things, and sometimes it's a hit and sometimes it's not.
Right.
So that could possibly be the future hardware as well.
And I think, again, if they did just the Switch 2 thing, I think that would be really positively received and would continue to do well. Switch has been in this very unique position of not really having a direct competitor, even still.
Right.
Like, there is no one device. Like, people say, like, oh, the Steam Deck. It's like, well, again, until I can just walk into a Best Buy and buy a Steam Deck, that's not really a head-to-head competitor.
Sure.
And Xbox and PlayStation seem very content with
what they're
having
doing,
the big, under your TV consoles, and now they have different ways that you can play remotely that are sort of inspired by the Switch, but nobody seems to want to say, like, let's do the full hybrid thing that Nintendo's doing. That is a variable that they will need to contend with. I do think there'll be more and more copycats and competitors as time goes on. Whether anything actually gets that all-in-one package right, I don't know. So I do think a Switch 2 concept could do really well. Would it end up being the third best selling system ever?
It's hard to say.
I don't know. I mean, that's where it gets hard again when you're going down the path again and again and again.
And that's why Nintendo has always been more of that innovative company. Like they've never done a lot of consoles that just iterate on the one before it.
Before this idea gets tired, before people get sick of this, let's go in another direction.
We zag in another direction,
right.
Which is how you end up with some crazy stuff that happens.
And that's how you can get the Wii, or that's how you can get the Wii U.
Exactly. So that's a real possibility, though. None of us know what the next hardware is going to be. And I would say there's a 50-50 chance for it to be Switch 2 or Wii U Super. So, I mean, we're like on a razor's edge right now. Like the company can flip in any direction right now.
Right. And then when you talk about the company being at this peak, that is like such a consequential decision. And it's like, who makes that decision?
Yeah. Who are the people at the
table?
table?
How confident are you feeling in that decision when you have these two or maybe more than two choices?
These things can affect each other too. Like they could think in their little brain, like, oh my gosh, this entertainment stuff is going gangbusters. Now maybe we have the capacity to experiment because we aren't relying solely on this, hardware succeeding, right? We have like a little bit of a safety net with these entertainment things. So let's zag and do like a cardboard Switch or I don't know, whatever.
Right.
So please don't do that. So like that, these decisions can affect each other, which is really interesting because I don't think Nintendo's really been in a position where that is the decision-making tree, right?
And
I kind of like that.
This is another sort of historical thing in the industry, and also with Nintendo. People who are in the top spot can lose the hunger for doing the things that got them in that top spot in the first place.
That's true. Yeah.
So,
Mr. Iwata was a real stickler on that. He always cautioned when we were in the Wii days, he would caution like, we can never take our foot off the gas.
Right, but people always compare and contrast, hungry Nintendo versus more arrogant Nintendo. Like you could argue Nintendo's getting into its more arrogant side now, where they're bickering with fans about certain things.
Oh, they're definitely
being very closed off.
They're in the arrogant. They've been in the arrogant era for a long time now.
So
for even before we left.
How does that impact decisions?
Yeah.
Are you thinking clearly? Or again, do people just assume like, yeah, this is what we are now. We're just that good.
Yeah, or it's like we're untouchable.
Right.
Like come at us.
But that's it's like an unfortunate reality of like this, like in life, like everything has a peak.
Yeah.
Everybody has a moment that will never be matched again.
Is it right now for us?
You've already experienced yours. I haven't experienced mine. Is all I have to say.
Such
okay.
mean thing to say. I'm right at the peak right now, baby. No, just kidding.
And this is the end of it.
Here comes the free fall. No, just kidding.
Right.
Oh my god, that's hilarious.
But it is kind of just like yeah, we can just keep going this on. We can just keep rolling this forward. Like we got the secret sauce. We got the magic touch.
Yeah.
But in everything in life, you find like that's not the truth.
I get worried.
You can come close.
Yeah.
But everything has a peak.
I get worried too because the reason why I think Nintendo like made it through a lot of that kind of stuff, like whether you are arrogant or you're like hungry, was because of Iwata and because of Reggie. That leadership duo was truly something else, something that you cannot replicate.
Yeah.
And I feel like the leadership team is fine at Nintendo, but it's not Mr. Iwata and it's not Reggie. So,
but they are still cashing in on like we saw, like Iwata finally got the recognition for the Mario movie, which he helped to set into motion.
Sure.
Like those decisions are still happening. When does the new team have to make everything fresh on their own?
I think they're in it.
Yeah, with some of
Right
these
now.
decisions, like the next console.
That's why I'm getting worried because it's like the Mr. Iwata roadmap is we're probably at the end of that timeline, either at the end or we're done. So now you're on your own.
Right.
So you don't have the instruction book anymore.
Yeah.
You
The
know,
last point pertaining to Switch
tough.
is, Tears of the Kingdom will be big, massive launch. But after this, I do think we start to get into the like
desperation times.
retirement home,
Yeah.
like software approach to
Right.
the Switch, and
Yeah.
well, there'll still be games. There'll still be games. There'll still be good
The
games.
software support is going to start to dry up a little bit, I think. You're not going to think about making your AAA stuff. You're going to think about making your AAA stuff the next thing.
Right.
Or if they're probably doing that now already, obviously.
Right.
But yeah, this might be the last big launch for Switch.
Oh, I think it absolutely will be. Even if you say like, Metroid Prime 4 is coming, that won't be as big as this. No. Not even close.
Not even close.
So then you get into that kind of clunky generational handoff where it's like, yeah, we're biding our time because we've got the next big thing.
And then you got
coming.
that thing where like the good game is on both consoles.
Yeah.
And you got to choose.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff is always like real awkward.
I mean, that worked well for Sony, but when the PS5 was hard to sell or hard to get, they said like, yeah, we're just going to make everything for both. And some people were mad because they wanted the true next-gen hardware, but most people couldn't get the next-gen hardware.
So they get forced.
So that was actually a really smart decision by them, I think.
It is, but also it doesn't feel good for the consumer.
No.
You know, you're just not building a lot of good, you're not building a good path to the next thing.
Right.
You're sort of kind of forcing their hand, which is a little
right.
unfortunate. So it's that like transition is the hardest thing to do. I think we've been through some of those transitions before at Nintendo, and they really sucked, you guys. It was not great, and you just feel like you lose on all fronts. So they're going to have to contend with that transition, even if the Switch 2 is going to be awesome, and people are going to love it. They're going to have to contend with that.
Yeah, the hardware transition is just hard and scary. No matter what.
Exactly.
There's no easy way.
And then you got to deal with all sorts of nonsense, like things selling out and the supply chain and all sorts of stuff. And things, you're going to have all these unexpected stuff that comes up when you do that transition that you're not going to be prepared for, and it's going to be hard.
So we're not bringing this up to be like Debbie Downers or like point and laugh, like haha, they're going to go down. Again, it's simply to acknowledge the extremely high point that Nintendo is at, and to say, let's collectively enjoy this moment as fans of the company where we have so many incredible things happening.
Exactly.
Because it may never be replicated again.
Exactly. It's kind of like when Animal Crossing took over the world in the pandemic. Like, it was not like a thing that happens. It's such a unique recipe of things that happen to get us to that moment. Same thing with all of these events happening right now. It's such a unique recipe of different events to get us here, and we should just really enjoy it. And I love the collective feeling where everybody is a Nintendo fan, which is what we got with the Animal Crossing thing, and is what we totally are getting now with this Mario movie doing so well is like, it feels like everybody around me, even people that have not played a Nintendo game in like years and years and years, is a Nintendo fan. It is so cool. It's such a fun time, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, I love that.
Let's move on to more news. Last week, late last week, kind of like late Friday, there was this flurry of fake Tears of the Kingdom leaks that started. And we have talked about how it's inevitable that this game is going to leak. There's just so much interest around it.
Yeah.
Kind of due in part to how little has come out. Yeah. People just want to know. Yeah. But this phenomenon of the fake leak, and it's starting at this point, is something I think that's new for Nintendo and fans to contend with, because it was like a razor's edge. It was like, is this real? Like, and
wait a second.
Imagine the poor people at Nintendo who are trying to like wrap up their week, like going into the weekend. And it's like, oh, I need to call somebody. Are they there? How do I? Are they on? Oh, they took Friday off. Like, I need to reach them. All this stuff turned out to be fake.
Yeah.
But I would just say, like,
leaks are a coming.
Mute stuff on social media
say
now.
That too. Yeah.
If you're going to go on your hardcore blackout, or you're not even going to look, I'd say do that now.
As the days tick closer, the prospect and the leaks are coming. So yeah,
because there are people who were like showing like, oh, I have the game box, or like, look, I have the icon on my Switch. This was all debunked of like, oh, these people are faking it.
They're faking it.
But one of these days we're gonna get there, and it's gonna be fireworks.
It's not great that like whenever any sort of thing, fake or real, is like talked about, it just gets like massive conversation around. It's like hard for you to avoid too.
Well, it took a little while for those to get debunked. Well, a lot of people are like, oh, let me look at this more closely.
It looks really real.
I need an expert. I need a Photoshop expert here.
Enhance, guys. Enhance. Yeah, it is. It's hard to. Yeah, it's really hard. People are so good at faking it nowadays, and it's so scary. Like if. Yeah, I'm a person that like when the art book thing happened.
Oh, that was real.
That was real, and it was scary to feel like you may at any point in your day get spoiled.
Right.
And Nintendo takes leaks super duper seriously, as you guys know. The ninjas are a looking, so. This is
I would feel so on edge if I was in the role that I was for Breath of the Wild now. Where you're just waiting for the shoe to drop.
You're just waiting for your life to be ruined, basically. Any moment now, your life is ruined.
Yeah, we can laugh now, but
maybe your life is already ruined. I don't know. I'm sorry if it is, but it is literally any minute now. I mean, they're dealing with it now. They got like the crazy like thread with the leaks team going. They got all sorts of hope, processes that they've put in place. They got all sorts of
stuff. Make your decision now. If you're going on full blackout, now's the time to do it. If not, you might be seeing some stuff.
Yeah.
Last week there was a big announcement of all this new stuff for Xenoblade Chronicles 3 that I was so interested in.
You still haven't beaten the game.
No, I stopped.
It's Chapter 5.
I stopped watching on YouTube after the Chapter 5 stuff because I thought, well, this is such a great like.
This is where the story ended. You're like you fanficked your way.
Well, I heard you saying like, oh, the ending was kind of a slog and it got a little annoying. So I was like, I'm just gonna stop here. And again, I'm gonna stop on a high point.
Yeah, this is like when like your mom used to stop like old Yeller before Yeller dies.
Wow.
It's like, oh, the dog is fine. Frontier fun for everyone.
Yeah. So the new DLC, by the time this comes out, will be out. Future Redeemed. There is a patch where this game is going to be supporting the Pyra and Mithra amiibo from
love
Smash.
Pyra and Mithra, so this is a big deal.
And then they are also making new amiibo for Noah and Mio.
Oh, I want these.
Like, this is a massive update for Xenoblade Chronicles 3, which is, I mean, that game's, like 8 months old?
8 months, yeah.
Fairly old at this point.
Oh, but we ship Noah and Mio.
First of all, are you playing this DLC?
No.
No, why?
I just want the amiibo.
It's got new...
I don't have time for this.
New Rex and new Shulk.
Rex is pretty hot. But I don't have time for this right now. I'm not in the mood.
Well, some other people were wondering, like, why are they shoehorning this in right before Tears of the Kingdom?
I don't know.
And there were various degrees of conspiracies the big news is coming. This is
the big news
this
is
a
not
small
coming,
fry.
y'all.
Where do you land on that?
There's no big news. I think
no
it's
big
just
news.
like they're not. This is like a classic Nintendo. Like we didn't think about the timing that closely.
Yeah.
And we just gotta like get this out there.
That does happen.
It's something like less. Like you think that they're big brainy, like they're like whiteboarding some like crazy beautiful mind release schedule. No, the teams are not timing.
Yeah, I actually don't think this is terrible timing. I mean, unless you're already playing something else, it's like I mean,
they announced this too, like in that direct. So it's been a little while since they did give it an update.
Like if you're a hardcore Xenoblade player, you can probably get through the DLC in the time before Zelda comes out. Right. It's not a ton of time, but it's probably enough time. The amiibo thing, I'm a little more confused by. Like, why did they announce these now? Maybe they wanted
it's a retailer thing. Probably.
Maybe they wanted to get a feel for like, this game is big. I don't know.
I feel like anything physical like this has got to be like a retailer.
Yeah, but you
driven kind of thing.
You could announce it and hold it, have it come out late.
Right.
But why announce it now? I'm more confused about that.
Yeah, it's like, well, it's gonna leak if it goes to the retailer.
Yeah.
We need to get the shelf space figured out for this physical amiibo that's coming out.
Right.
So we're just gonna announce. Just might as well like tack it onto this, make it feel bigger. People are gonna just be moving on from anything when Tears of the Kingdom comes out. So this might be your only shot.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
This next story, Joseph Staten joins Netflix. I'm gonna skip. I'm just gonna delete it.
Oh no.
This episode's getting a little long in the tooth, and I also don't care that much.
Way to go, Joey.
This next one I do want to talk about though. So there was this whole debate. Was Hi-Fi Rush a success or not? So Hi-Fi Rush was the game that was in the Xbox Developer Direct, shadow dropped, done by I think Tango Gameworks is the name of the studio, and our friend Jeff Grubb was in the news because a little birdie told him that the game did not make the money that it needed to. And that led to this whole debate of like, well, what exactly is the goal for Xbox with its new releases? Because direct game sales are probably lower because you are putting the thing on Game Pass.
Right.
So what are you measuring? Are you measuring the growth of Game Pass? Are you measuring how many people are playing it on Game Pass at once? Yeah. Are you still looking at the direct sales? So there was this whole thread where this guy asked, what exactly decides success for an Xbox game? There's no physical version. There was no marketing. There's no multiplayer to give it legs. And then Aaron Greenberg, who's the head of marketing for Xbox, chimed in to say, Hi-Fi Rush was a breakout hit for us and our players in all key measurements and expectations. We couldn't be happier with what the team at Tango Gameworks delivered with the surprise release. It's a highly sanitized message that he shared right there. But it makes you wonder, what are your key measurements and expectations? And how did you... Because we know, like, anytime you're breaking into something new, it is so hard to decide, like, these are the success metrics.
Yeah.
And those can be debated
and
endlessly.
Just agonized over.
Right.
And then there's like this huge thing now that we dealt with too, where you got to benchmark all of your success metrics. So I wonder if they do have any sort of benchmark for this type of release or this type of game, because it is so different than like your traditional cookie cutter thing where it's like, I'm going to announce a game and I'm going to sell a game and then I'm going to see how many people are playing the game, And
this is not just unique to Hi-Fi Rush. Like when Starfield comes out, it's like, this game that we spent like $100 million making. Like, how are we going to know if this is doing a positive thing for our business? They're going to
put that on Game Pass?
Day one, that's going to be on Game Pass. That's what they do with all these big games. So
dang, that's crazy to me.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be in their shoes because it's like you can come up with the metrics, but at any point anybody could say, are these really the right metrics?
Right.
And you don't know because you've been only doing this for a short amount of time.
Like, have you recouped your costs?
And you can just end up in this infinite loop of debating the metrics, and at which point you're getting nowhere and you're not answering your question.
Yeah.
And if I'm Phil Spencer, I'm just pulling my hair out.
Yeah. Phil Spencer might be like looking to other people on his team too to like tell him what the metrics are, and they probably don't have a good answer for him because there's not enough like data that kind of supports either either path, which is going to be tough for them to
Right.
reconcile with.
It's very basic, but it's like, we sold this many, we made this much money.
Exactly.
Okay, I understand that.
Yeah, that's
that
what I'm
has
saying.
a
It's not
tangible
cookie
impact.
cutter.
And
Yeah.
that fits in with the rest of the ways that we track a business. This is not that.
No.
This is complicated.
This is really, you need some like smart analyst person to come in and do your benchmarking for you.
Yeah, I wonder if
your
at some
measurement.
point would they ever talk about
Your
what their key measurements
framework. You got to put that together.
I don't know.
That sounds.
I mean, we
real
were doing
hard.
social media stuff and like making videos, and that conversation was annoying.
Oh my god!
And
Where is
complicated.
everybody in the customer journey? How do we measure sentiment?
This,
How
though-
do we measure click through? It's the worst conversation ever.
This
Like,
is
you
really
can't. Okay, that's the answer.
Yeah.
You can't.
So was it a success or not? Nobody knows.
Nobody knows,
Right.
and maybe we'll never know.
On to the questions. Every question we get is from our Patreon subscribers. We do a bonus Q&A every week with even more questions that is exclusive to Patreon. But let's start here with B-Rad. In Reggie's book, he mentions during his first E3 that he started a tradition of giving out Reggie pins and notes to Nintendo employees for exceptional jobs. Did either of you ever receive one of these? And if so, what for?
I never got a Reggie pin when I was at Nintendo.
What?
Have you?
I think at a certain point they were no longer pins.
There were notes.
They were Reggie pens.
Oh, pens. Oh, I got one of those.
I think that's
With
what
the
it became.
note.
Yes.
Oh, that's the same thing?
I think this.
I didn't know
well, his first E3. This was a long time
Oh,
ago.
I wasn't there for that.
No. So what did you get? You got a pen and a
I
note
got a
for
pen,
what?
a note for the work that I did on the home audience committee, leading the home audience
Right.
committee. That was the year that they had the famous photo, the Triforce photo with their hands.
yeah.
I took that photo.
Okay.
And I got a Reggie pen and a
Yeah.
handwritten note from Reggie that was like, thank you for your
Yes.
hard work
Yes.
and all that.
I got one of those also for
Oh, okay.
the year that I led E3, which was like
Right.
2018 or so.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a thing that he would do, and that was always a great
Reggie, yeah.
morale bump of like, oh, Reggie saw this and Reggie took the time to
That-
recognize this.
Yeah, that's one aspect of Reggie's leadership that I always appreciated. He always remembered everybody's name. Like, he doesn't have
Yeah.
to, he remembers like personal things about you, the stuff
Yeah.
that you're working on. He clearly was, making an effort to pay attention. And he would be very considerate about recognizing when you've done something that was really hard or something that was really challenging.
Right. Which is an easy thing to do, but strangely, a lot of
So
people
many
don't do
people
it.
Never,
Never
do it.
Yeah.
People in a lower position than Reggie at Nintendo would never do this
Right.
and would forget people's
I think it's
names.
like an admission of weakness or something. Like,
was
I don't know how
terrible.
you convince yourself that that's it, but that's
Yeah.
for some reason they wouldn't do it.
Right. And when we saw Reggie and he was on the podcast last year, he did give me a Reggie pin.
Right.
Of his-
the new
of
new one that
his
he
new-
wears, Pixel
Yeah,
Reggie.
the Pixel Reggie.
Yes.
So I have a pin and a pen, apparently.
Right.
So
Wow.
it's great.
I have one of those too.
I got all of Reggie things.
That's right. I also got, when I was working on Nintendo Direct, after the first Direct that I was on, which was an awful, painful process, like he did a reply all to this report that I had sent and just left like just the glowing, like,
Yeah.
it was basically an email to me, but he intentionally replied all so
Yeah,
that
he
people
does things
would
like
know.
that all the time.
And I printed that email out. I still have that email because
I
it was like,
know.
oh wow, this is like, but it was very appreciated. It's like, thank you for recognizing this was a hard project.
Yeah.
That we tried a lot of new things that mostly did well, and that's again a super easy thing to do
Mm-hmm.
that not enough people actually do.
The thing that he does really well is that he can really like pinpoint the actual work that you did too. So it's not generic. It's not
Yeah.
like, great job, you worked hard,
Right.
see you later. But he like really pinpointed areas where like you like rose to the challenge or like you did something. Like he's very specific about that. I don't know how he does it. It's kind of amazing.
There were some imitators to the Reggie Penn throne.
Really?
You rock.
Oh, you.
That we will not be talking about.
Oh, that was the
because
worst.
they are pale imitations.
They are. It is like a black market copycat. No, thank you.
Yeah,
Throw
not
that,
the same.
Throw that right in the trash.
Not the same.
Yeah.
Riven asks, Is Drago hot? He's the antagonist in Ring Fit Adventure. As a reminder, I've definitely seen some Drago is hot style takes, and I'm curious if there was any internal discussion about this at Nintendo. I'm glad this podcast is just an opportunity for you to share who is and isn't hot. So please answer the question.
He's very buff. Maybe this is inspired by our recent video about Ganondorf.
Yeah?
I don't think there was internal debate about Drago being hot or not. I don't think. Did you hear anything from people?
You mean it wasn't discussed?
It wasn't discussed. Yeah, I didn't hear it at least. Did you?
No, but I may not be privy to these conversations.
I definitely did not hear this. I think he
right.
was too much of a demon.
But what's the answer?
I don't think Drago's
You don't
hot.
think so?
I don't really like
All right.
Ring Fit though, so maybe that has something to do with it.
I could see it.
He's very buff.
Not surprised, yeah.
got nice
Wearing
arms.
that
tank
what do you
top
call
thingy?
what do you call that thing?
It's like a unitard.
Singlet? It's like a wrestling
A singlet.
wrestling
Oh, I don't even
thing?
know.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think Drago is hot.
All right.
Sorry.
Captain Cinnamon Buns asks, "Hi all, can the pandemic truly be considered over if Nintendo still puts COVID-19 warnings at the beginning of their presentations? We are not here to debate the pandemic." Very important update.
Yes.
I like that they put this, but I think they should just tweak it because it's a good reminder about game development being very ephemeral. Of like, hey, everything that you see here that we're talking about, these dates, this could all change. This could all go up in a puff of smoke.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So don't get too locked into
So
any of this.
your warning is less about the pandemic and more just about like anything can change for any reason.
It's a little
anytime.
disclaimer. It's like, yeah, this is current information. Everything here could change.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Sure.
I think they should do that.
Is that not a given for people?
It certainly isn't. Have you seen the internet?
Y'all need
certainly is not.
Y'all need to really look yourselves in the mirror a bit then. It seems pretty obvious to me, but okay. Yeah, I mean, this is another thing. It's like they really lock themselves into like some weird like habits, for stuff. This is they do this and they like lock themselves into a weird thing and then they like can't find a good way to get out of it and then they endlessly debate how to get out of it but then can't find a solution and then they do nothing. Yeah, so this is classic Nintendo. Classic Nintendo.
DMC has the next question. Given the rise of facial and body motion capture in video game development, when it comes to industry awards, do you think it's time to revise the performance category to distinguish vocal performance from full voice and physical performance? I like this idea.
This is great.
This is a great idea.
Yeah, it's like, get with the times. Like, there's so much more that goes into it, right, than just a voice acting.
Yeah, Sony is so good at releasing behind-the-scenes videos.
I love the God of War
like, oh,
stuff.
here's them. And you realize these actors are actually acting out the entirety of the game. And every little movement
Do we match the film industry and just say, like, best actor?
is getting... Well, but you don't want to take away from pure vocal performances.
Oh,
also.
I see. Yeah, okay. So you can say best...
Yeah, like this. I could see this like in the Game Awards, like best. I don't know.
You have to name it something.
But a distinction between the two.
Best voice and then best
because
actor.
it does feel like a bit of an apples to oranges.
Yeah.
So I like this idea a lot.
Jeff Keighley, take note.
Yeah.
Add a category.
Medallion 2889 asks, do you think Nintendo will have another live presentation event for their upcoming successor to the Switch like they did for the Switch's unveiling back in January 2017, or just do a direct presentation? I personally thought the 2017 live presentation for Switch was not that great for watchers who were still left feeling kind of confused or still even worried from my memory after its presentation. Maybe they should stick to digital presentations like direct style for it going forward. Would you prefer one over the other and why?
Nintendo really loves this thing, and we've talked about this before a little bit as well, where they like to announce something and then in the shortest time possible get people to touch it or play it. They just really like having both of those kind of stories out there, I guess. Like their announcement, whether that's a direct or something, and then like some media or mostly media, like their hands-on impressions is very important to Nintendo. So I can see them doing that and making that a big part of a Switch 2 or whatever we're calling it announcement, because it is important, I think, especially if the system is really different or they have some features that are better to be touched and played and talked about in a more of a hands-on way, then they probably would do something like that.
But you don't have to do a stage presentation to lead into that. You could still do a direct and then do that.
Yeah, they don't have to do a stage presentation.
But do you think they will?
I think they will. I do think they will.
I'm guiding you towards answering this question.
I do think they will. Okay. Do you think they will? I think they want to make a big deal out of it, so it's going to be big.
I think that's the thing, is I think the direct is perfectly fine for this, but if it's something so big as unveiling your new console,
you better do something
which,
different.
as we just said, has all this build up around it, there's the chatter of like, well, how do we do something that feels different, that feels special?
Yeah.
And this is one of the things that you can talk yourself into.
Yeah.
I agree with Medallion's point, though, of like, that was a good reminder of that some of the pratfalls of physical presentations, where like there was that translation issue, the nervous translator who I felt so bad for.
Yeah, the weird like time difference. And all
There's some things that you just can't do in a live presentation that you do in a direct. But that desire to make it feel different and stand out and big is there.
Yeah,
so
totally.
It might not just be the vanilla direct.
Right.
Silvergrass Moon asks, hi Kit and Krysta, if you were given the reins, how would you handle Princess Peach going forward? I know you were happy with how she was portrayed in the movie. Is that the exact approach you would take, or is there still room for improvement? For example, maybe it wouldn't translate quite right in the context of a game. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with her wearing dresses or baking cakes, but I agree wholeheartedly that for a character that's been with us almost 40 years, she is shamefully underutilized and undercharacterized. I'm going to let you cook with this.
I'm a cook. I think the key word that you have here is undercharacterized. I completely agree with that. It's not that Princess Peach can't wear a dress, make a cake, be Mario's person to rescue, or whatever. Is that she feels very one-dimensional in these games, where she's just sort of an object.
More like a prop than a character.
Exactly, a prop. What I would love to see Princess Peach moving forward is like, show us all facets of her personality. Kind of like what we're getting with Zelda finally, right?
Yeah.
She can have some, emotional breakdown moments where she cries and needs to hug Mario for support. She can be, Mario's teacher and like what she was doing in the movie and like help him become a better platformer. I don't know. Like everybody has different facets to their personality, to their life that I think can really be explored as they like kind of expand the Princess Peach character into a real character and not just a prop. So that's what I would like to see. I would just like to see like all the different aspects of who she is and stop having her be this like one-dimensional thing that's just known for this one thing, Yeah,
I think it's hard when your core Mario series is so story agnostic and just like, yeah, let's get past this story setup so that we can get into the game.
Yeah.
I think that's a real challenge for them going forward. But fortunately, there's other types of games. If they do like a Mario and Luigi type game, you can really delve into that more.
Yeah.
And maybe that can feed its way into the presentation in the more core Mario games. But it is a strange series when you think about it in that sense of like, it just wants you to jump around through these levels.
It does, yeah. And
so those games are probably not where that is going to be established.
Although now you've built this weird precedence, not weird, but you've built a precedence with these movies that these characters are much deeper than you realize they are. So now you got to pay it off somehow.
Right.
And if you don't, it's like a huge glaring omission to your non-connected universe, which could be really bad. So yeah, challenge is there.
Vidgmictor has a real weird question. Around the time Star Fox Zero was released, there had been a rumor going around regarding Fox and his team having robotic legs, as the original artwork for the SNES game depicted the four with robot-looking boots that could not possibly contain flesh or bone.
Or a little frog flipper.
Supposedly, someone, maybe Miyamoto, said that their legs had indeed been intentionally amputated to better withstand the G-force of flying in the R-Wing. Dylan Cuthbert later put the rumor to rest, saying that Fox and the others were simply wearing metal boots. Had this rumor been discussed at NOA? What was the reaction of some of your coworkers? This is the perfect proof point for something that I have been saying a lot, which is that Mr. Miyamoto specifically is not thinking that deeply about this stuff.
No.
And when he gets asked about this in an interview, he is making it up on the fly.
He is. He doesn't know the actual
He doesn't
answer.
care.
He's never thought about it.
Yeah.
And he's just saying whatever pops into his head that day.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, they cut their legs off, sure.
Depending
Next
on if
question.
he had a hamburger or two or not, he's going to answer differently. This is, again, this is so funny because we've been talking about like how people think Nintendo has galaxy brain for things, but they're just making it up, guys.
Yeah.
It's like,
And
they're humans like us. They just, you know.
Him in particular, when it comes to this stuff, especially with some of the older games, like he was focused on the gameplay and not a lot else.
Yeah, totally.
That works for me, but other people get fixated on this stuff.
Yeah.
To the point I was like, he didn't care. It was not on his mind.
And then when you ask him like an hour later, like what he said, he's like, I don't know.
Yeah, or he'll think of something else. You're like, oh, but I never said that.
He's like, I don't care. Why are you asking me this? I'm going to go eat the hamburger.
That's a weird question.
Like, shut up.
Yeah.
The Muppets had legs, just saying.
Okay.
Rumor.
Did they?
Yeah.
Well, they also had a little...
You got to put your hand
up
No,
there.
it's in the back.
Oh, it's got a stick.
It's got a
All
stick
right,
in the back.
all right.
The legs are there. They're not robots.
Last question is, who is Bowser Jr.'s mom? Interesting question to get from Bowser Jr.'s mom. Any advice for someone who's about to start Super Mario Sunshine for the first time?
The game is really hard. Be prepared.
Oh.
That's my advice. The flood. The controls are...
managing the flood.
Managing the flood. The controls are pretty
That's
challenging.
another layer of...
It's a layer of something.
Something you don't normally have to contend
Yeah.
with. I would say expect a game that doesn't feel
Like a
always
Mario
like a
game.
Mario game. That's always my feeling when I play Mario Sunshine.
Yeah.
Is this does not have the same mojo going for
Oh,
it
the mojo.
that
Delphina!
I expect.
You don't like steel drums. That's your
It's got nothing to do with it. It's just like the way the game controls, the way the game moves,
the controls are
the stuff the
weird.
game is asking you to do. It's like
I get it.
it's like
I get that. It's a little off.
yeah, there's
Yeah.
just something that isn't. It's just not what you expect.
But if you are starting it like around summertime, which is hopefully coming up in a couple months, like the vibes are there, so
Yeah,
you
that's
can
true.
enjoy that. Maybe you're going somewhere tropical or something. Like that would be nice.
Yeah, be sure to check in and let us know what you think.
Yeah.
All right,
We made it to the
that's
end.
all of our questions.
Yes. Superstar shoutouts?
Yes, this is our Patreon tier, our highest tier, the Superstars.
Our lovely superstars. Here we go. Aaron Hash.
Ben Eichhorn,
Maru Mayhem.
Eigenverse,
Kiss My Flapjack.
Mike Chin,
Mr. Rogers.
Roy Eschke,
Switching It Up _
Safazon,
The Shark Among Men.
VGM Life,
Link, the hero of wins.
Angela Bycroft, Inner Pig Molly,
Turbocharged Nerd.
Thomas O'Rourke,
Kyle LaBeouf.
Twin Dragon 76,
And Christopher Lara.
Christopher Lara, our newest member. Also, happy birthday to Switching It Up _
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Got a lot of birthdays recently in our wonderful community.
It's
The
something-
celebrations are real.
Something about April. There's a lot of birthdays just happening all the
What
time.
happens 9 months before?
I'll let you do that now.
Do some math
Oh,
here.
wait, you can't.
I don't know. And I've lost interest already. One Up Club graduation ceremony. Here we go. Aaron Burgundy,
Adam and Ansley,
Ajahn Malari,
Ali Alejandra,
Alexandra Pratt,
Andrew Uhas,
Astro Def,
Blazed and Enthused,
Bookem Dano,
Brad SF56,
Brooke Obscura,
Brookie Kazooie,
Bruce Dash,
Chancellor Fairley,
Chili Squirrel,
Christopher Lay,
Cozy Tar,
Captain Alex,
D Roper 17,
Daniel Cole,
Daniel Phillips,
Daniel Valencia,
Dachshund,
Desert Colt 18,
Doodoo Face,
Dolce,
Dino Punch,
Elite Peach,
Esparts 50,
Fart Priest 69,
Furbound,
Fernie and Jess Forever,
Fox Deploy,
Fred Rossi,
Frederick. Oh, this might be repeat. Okay, hold on. Frederick Ulf Konradson,
excellent, Garrett Holfish,
Garth the Wolf,
Gartooth,
G-Sun 101,
Ian Shea,
Israel Izzy,
Jay Randa,
Jabroni Jones,
JK99,
JBJ,
Jeffrey Hernandez,
Jerry 92602,
Jesse Hernandez,
John Responte,
Jonathan Rowe,
Jordan Collette,
Jordan Hemmerly,
Jordan DeHaze. Oh, I'm sorry, Joseph DeHaze,
Joshua Clements,
Gigi Fruit,
Just Camtro,
Justin Lemminger,
Kawa 2796,
Kelp Shake,
Kevin Delane,
Chris Hugh,
Christorati Kid,
Christopia Party With Me,
Kyle Gamer Barry Rookie,
Kyle Kretzer,
Kyler Nelson,
Linnell Stickman,
Lemma,
Lil Sebastian,
Lit.
Mad Dog 5981.
Marky Man 64.
Mecha Dragon 101.
Megan.
Michael Cravens.
Michael White.
Mickey Conway.
Mikey.
Motomania.
Mr. Andy Paul.
MSN Poke Gamer.
Mr. Beans and Dip.
Mytran.
Nasir.
Nathan Burkhart.
Panda.
Panda Buns.
Halsey Pace.
Paul Gale Network.
Prime Factor.
Prince Charmless.
Reaver.
Raintech.
Ray Charon.
Ryuji Utsuha Okuu.
Renee Rivers.
Rick Alvarado.
Ryath One.
RJ Kern.
Rob Osborne.
Renana Rex.
Rox.
Ryanetta.
Sam Nealon.
Sharif Jackson.
Shinria.
Slowbro.
Schmiggles.
Shrews.
Silly Ferret.
SJ Sharky 777.
Spicy Munchkin.
Steel Citron.
Tales of Link.
Tefew.
Terrastorm.
Thomas Alvarez.
Topher Schmofer.
Travis Torline.
Troopage.
Tugs Puppy Bear.
Tusku.
Tyler Geis.
Tyler and Tracy.
Vezves.
Video Game Stupid.
VirtualBot.
Wicked Davy.
Will Ernst.
Will Johnson.
Zudaverf.
Zelgaroth.
Zoroid.
I like that we have Panda and Panda Buns.
It's great.
First I thought, oh, this person just changed their name.
It's a new
There's
person.
Two people.
Two pandas.
No relation.
No relation.
I love that.
Just like the Hernandezes. Jeffrey and Jesse.
That's been debunked.
I know.
Keep your comments to yourself.
I was hopeful for like weird long lost twins, half a medallion. I was really hopeful, but that's not the case. All right, that was a long episode. We're about to lose our brain power here.
It's your scheduled bathroom break time. My
scheduled bathroom break is coming up, so we gotta go. Don't forget to subscribe to our Patreon. We are patreon.com/Kit and Krysta to keep all of this content going.
If you're watching on YouTube, you can go ahead and subscribe to our channel, leave a comment and a thumbs up. And if you're listening on audio, you can go ahead and give this a 5-star rating and also leave a written review.
And don't forget to follow us on socials. We are on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook. And that's it.
This is the end.
This is the end. We'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.